Here we go. Podcast Wayne Gretzky, number 99.
The great one.
Let's see if it will be a great one. I'm hoping so. Our guest today is one of the greatest of bowling, I consider. And obviously he's been named in the top 100 and stuff like that. So it should be interesting, that's for sure.
We don't really have a plan tonight, too. I think people have said, do you have a plan? Because Geoff is just going to... Anything goes. So we don't know where this is going to go. We're throwing out the window. And...
Exactly.
Yeah. Just have at it. I love it. Carrie, what are our nicknames this week?
Yeah, so great call. It was brought to my attention that I didn't come up with any nicknames to start off this podcast, and that is very true. So we'll go with Dexter Salmon T-shirt Wiseman.
Nice. It's more
he did have 2 days off, too. He had 2 days off.
Yeah, that's true. I did nothing.
I got Cupcake Earphones Bradley. call me Cupcake. Everybody can call me Cupcake tonight.
Perfect.
Oh, Cupcake.
Yeah, no, I don't have any off the top of my head, so that sucks. I'll have to make up some good ones for the 100.
Yeah.
Maybe we
can get people
too excited. Yeah. Carrie too excited for 100 crates.
Yeah, true enough. And Tim, boring as usual, Wiseman.
I am pretty boring, yeah.
Enough bashing. So you guys excited for this podcast?
I am, yeah. I've been excited to have Geoff on when we started talking a little bit, and Geoff has a lot of stories, and he can definitely has a different mindset to bowling than a lot of us have. So it'd be interesting to kind of open up that topic a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that's like, pure enthusiasm and excitement, and he's one of our favorites. He's definitely one of the most interesting people we've met, and really looking forward to hearing his take on stuff.
Yeah,
he's got a long bio too, right? I mean, we're dating back, 4 or 5 decades ago that he's been playing for a long time. So there's lots of history there. Played into various tournaments and had a lot of success. Definitely be interesting to learn some of those skills and some of those things that he's had some success over the years. So it's going to be fun for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to try something new this week. We got a new giveaway idea. That way, hopefully Dexter won't have to keep track of all your names. So in order to enter this draw, you have to enter a comment in the chat with the hashtag AllStarDraw. And you have to include the hashtag, and everything is lowercase. And you'll be entered into the draw, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. And then you'll be entered into the draw to receive a $50 gift card from All Star Bowling Sales to shop on their online store. And then once again, we want to thank all our Patreon members for helping us out. For as little as $2 a month, you help support this podcast and bring it to you every Wednesday. This has been ongoing weekly for quite a while, which I'm absolutely amazed at. I think before Daryl came on, and even the last few while Adam was still on, we were kind of hit or miss. I think, because bowling was still going, we had the challenges and other weekly stuff going on, so that ate into our free time. But as we all know, the Wisemans have lots of free time now. So
endless.
I just got a picture. I just got a picture of my duck breast with risotto that was, made. We were on a little Zoom call before this, and my wife was making cooking lessons, and so we might get interrupted here, fellas, in a little duck breast coming up. So
all I hear is breast.
Yeah, it's okay. We got Geoff Bourne on, so I have to do a whole tonight. I can sit back and sip on a drink and.
So just so you know, the draw is working. We have 12 entries already, and you can't double enter. It won't count you unless, I guess, if you have a different account, and it works for YouTube and Facebook Live. So feel free to keep having that hashtag All-Star Draw. And looks like maybe 5-Pin Universe was entered in twice, so maybe we'll win something. About time.
Bonus.
That's because I put in that comment saying you must include it. Nice. Nice.
Well, if
That
we
would
get
be
draw,
hilarious.
we'll run it again.
Oh, thanks, Curtis.
That's funny. Okay, so I'm not going to keep track of names then. If it's working,
No.
I'm out.
It's working just fine.
Yeah.
Dex and Tim, do we get a TikTok for the 100th show next week? Something. Yeah, I feel like you guys are slacking a little bit in the TikTok.
Yeah, where's your
the
media
videos.
lately, boys?
Do you know, honestly, we have a bunch of TikToks sitting there to be loaded. Dexter just hasn't loaded them. It's because he's
Okay.
not part of it, right? So that's how it works, right? So
Okay. Hold on 2 seconds. First of all, we do still have some that also include me. You're not exactly all that great at the trick shots, Tim. Second
These
of all,
ones actually work.
I had an 11.5-minute video of gold that I gave Carrie months ago that has never been put on YouTube. So,
There sounds like a whole lot of blaming going on. Tim deflected it off the.
before people start throwing stones,
Yeah, well,
hey,
I didn't
you
throw
know what?
stones.
I can make whatever TikTok video you want. I can do whatever bowling, non-bowling related, whatever
I
you
think
want.
I think the fans want to see you do some 5-minute yoga, Tim.
I can do yoga.
yeah,
That's what I heard.
yeah.
does
can
that
do
mean
it, yeah.
I have to film that?
No, you got a tripod. Walk away from that.
Wow, how did you know?
Oh, Jesus. 5-pin after dark. This is getting off the rails even before our guest gets on. That's not good.
I think this could be a record number of people watching, though. We've already got like 87 comments. And they're just sitting there waiting. When are you going to bring Geoff on? Bring him on! Bring him on! Let's go! We're like, no! We got to hit the 10-minute mark, right? Like, pre-game banter. I love it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I don't know. There's not too much going on in sports right now, so not much to talk about. Well, I guess Rory McIlroy finally won again at Quail Hollow. Yes, that's the
Big win.
biggest thing going on.
The Oilers locked up their match up against the
Nobody
Jets now.
really cares about the Oilers.
Yeah, but Carrie, as you jump over that McDavid got 100 points, like, what is that? There's not much going on in sports. Only McDavid lighting it up and getting 100 points. I am amazed at the conversation that they're saying that Austin Matthews versus McDavid as a potential for the Hart. Like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, obviously the media
Matthews
guys
is
have
joke.
to say something.
Draisaitl should be in that comment.
Yeah, 40 some goals and 63 points. I mean, like, let's just keep shooting the puck at him.
There we go, Robert. The Jays are tied in the 8th. That's the most recent thing. That's perfect.
No,
I
we
like
do
that.
have to bring up that Brett Hendrickson did a great job at the Manitoba Masters drop-in event. Even though we give Manitoba a hard time,
There we go.
that looks really good, Daryl. Probably ordered in from Earl's, but they did a great job down in Manitoba. So big congratulations to all the winners out there.
So, do we know who won the event, Tim?
Yeah.
Since you're bringing it?
Actually, Robbie won both sides. So
Oh, nice.
Robbie.
killed Hendrickson. Robbie killed
nice.
both sides.
That's awesome.
And I know Tim Hooper cashed in a little bit there. I know
Sweet.
Derek Orn did.
Derek Oren, yeah.
And I honestly really haven't really looked at the rest of them. I'm not going to lie to you, but I know there was some great bowling. And thanks for supporting the local centers. So
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
How many entries did they end up getting for that? No idea.
you know
I'm
what?
Sure, I'm sure
Brett-
we don't know.
Amount.
Alberta wasn't allowed to be included. I asked, so I kind of gave up after that. I'm not
But that's
gonna
pretty
lie.
cool, though. I mean, good for
Really
obviously.
good. It was awesome.
I'm not sure where they got that idea, but it's really cool of them to be able to successfully complete the event, right, in Manitoba.
Yeah.
I mean, other provinces, other ideas, it can be done. So, good on
And
them.
Seth is back on the lanes after his shoulder surgery. 158. He's right on average.
Yeah,
Perfect.
he's gotten better. That's awesome. That's shoulder surgery really worked out for you.
Perfect.
All right.
All
so
right.
it's 10:30. Bring on Geoff.
Yeah, let's go. Jeff time. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna run obviously All-Star Bowling commercials. Wow, All-Star Bowling Sales commercial right now. Once again, if you want to be if you want to be entered in the draw, hashtag All-Star Draw in the comments, and you'll be added to the draw. our guest for the 99th podcast is Mr. Geoff Bourne. We are sorry for that intro. That may have been the worst one we've ever done. We hope you carry this podcast through.
Well, I just want to comment about Rory going to Brad Faxon for putting lessons. And apparently he was like 46 out of 46 inside 6 feet. And that's how you win, right? Putt for dope.
Yeah.
But he didn't make any practice strokes on any of the greens, right? Like he would just get up and line it up and then shoot.
That's what I do. I trust myself.
That's why I three putt a lot.
Like Snedeker I'm a brush putter, kind of thing, and I just give it a few brushes and then give it a whack. So
I have to sit there, line it up, practice, look, do this like 44 times before I actually go. I'm slower putting at bowling or at putting in golf than I am bowling for sure. Yeah. Anyways, I digress.
Yes, it's a bowling show, not a golf show.
Yeah.
Well,
We gotta talk about something else. Bowling ain't happening, so.
it is in Manitoba.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, I'll tell you where they got the idea. Chad Van Dale actually, when they first came back off the summer, the first layoff, ran that kind of tournament, just an open 6-8 week tournament. Enter, your scores carried over. So it was originally came up with by Chad Van Dale.
Perfect.
Credit given.
It sounds like it ran really well, so I'm glad you guys were able to put something together like that. And kudos for everybody that was involved.
Did you play in it, Geoff?
I played a couple of times. Yeah, I was having trouble getting to the lanes, but then unfortunately, of course, Norm Shranis passed, and I just knew I had to go bowling that day for Norm. That's off the street, a nice 806. So not a good enough score to win, but always a good score.
Okay, so it's just 3 games.
Yeah.
You had a scratch and a handicap side.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice.
That's
You'd have to
awesome.
enter
Sounds
both though. It's $10 each, so I didn't play the handicap.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is bowling alleys open now? Everything is shut down. In
Just closed again last week.
Oh, okay.
We were going on Tuesday nights to try to make up some more weeks for the season, but that's over. And so actually our Thursday night league, our money league, in that bowling alley, many of the teams have opted to give our residual prize money to Chad to help tide him over, and hopefully they open his doors again. I mean, good Lord. We used to be a city with tons of bowling alleys, but we're going to find out in September if we are.
Yeah, no doubt. And you guys were shut down for quite a while before you opened here lately, were you not?
Yes, we end of October, we were open for 4 weeks maybe and closed again. So it's been just horrible.
Yeah.
I think I saw Saskatchewan actually had a rollout plan that was opening bowling centers at the end of May. So they actually put it in plan. Like this is when specifically bowling centers will look to be open.
Yeah, as long as they hit their goal or whatever their mark is.
Yeah. It's nice to see that they actually have a date or specific saying you're being recognized that you're going to be open, right? I don't think Alberta, you're definitely not in that mix. You're not even, you're lumped into nothing at all.
They actually did specifically list us in step 3 this time.
Right. What step 3 is a random percentage that who decides what that percentage is.
Yeah, step 3 is like before the percentages. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
Now it's a combination of both of them, and you need to know like calculus and able to figure out exactly where it sits.
Differentiation.
I see here Johnny Moen saying that it has to hit 70% vaccination rate. So that everybody's taking that way of vaccinations, right? So go get them. I know some people have different opinions. It's all about that to be open now. So if we have 32% people not, then we're not going to be open. So anyways, that's my feelings on that. Geoff, are you working these days? I know you had said or retired, or what are you doing to keep yourself busy then?
Retired from my city job, but I work seasonally for Canada Revenue Agency from February till beginning of June, pushing tax forms around. Amazingly, so many people still do them on paper. And I'm in what's called error inspection. So if you put something in the wrong field or write down a wrong value, I can fix that so they can send you the right assessment.
Right.
Well,
So
thank
I
you
went
very
from
much.
one government job to another government job. So
Yeah.
when I get out of this one, I'm going to go work for the province and get the trifecta. So.
Yeah. You're probably just banging your head against the wall too sometimes. People making mistakes on their forms. Like, come on, person. Like, really?
There's some cussing involved sometimes. Yeah.
Anyways.
On both ends. For
So
sure.
so it'll be golf as soon as that work is done. I know we're hopefully
Yeah, I
golf
can't
courses
wait.
golf courses are open in Manitoba.
They are. Yeah. It's almost unregulated compared to everything else. So I can't wait. Going tomorrow at 5. So
Nice. Get out there and play.
Perfect.
yeah, it's beautiful here right now. It's 23 degrees, so it's perfect weather.
Nice.
No bugs yet. Dynamite.
Is it? I know the Winnipeg area. It really isn't a dry area, but here in Alberta, it's been super dry. We finally got some rain the last couple of days. Is it kind of the same thing in Manitoba, or is it
It's
pretty seasonal
awful.
weather?
It was a dry fall, one of the driest winters on record, and we've had rain maybe 2 days in the last 30. So I'm out there watering my evergreens, trying to make them stay green.
Wow. That's insane.
Well, and the thing is,
drought.
I'm in a newer neighborhood, so the trees are not so mature, so I don't have to worry about them busting through the foundations of my house. But in the older neighborhoods with the really mature 100-year-old trees, like they're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
These big trees, yeah, for sure, getting underneath ground. We got a few we had to cut down too this year. Right, 50-year-old trees, just the roots and the stumps coming through. Like, be careful before you start going into foundation and into decks and pulling up and things not level anymore. Anyway, should we chat some bowling here, team?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
We always start off back, when you first started throwing some balls between your legs. And where did that start for you, Geoff? When did you get introduced into the game of 5-pin bowling?
Well, my parents both bowled on Friday nights at Village Inn Lanes, and I was bowling YBC at Village Inn Lanes. And what made it interesting was the Village Inn Lanes at the day was the host of the big money tournament. So my parents would keep score on the Saturday and Sunday for the event. And at that time, they actually stayed in the hotel, which was attached to the bowling alley. So it was a fantastic couple of days running around like a maniac. And I watched some really fantastic bowlers to sort of get me interested in bowling that way. Of course, I went to YBC when I got in there as soon as I could. It was the stepping stone for sure.
Where now is that bowling alley still open?
It is. It's called Village Inn West. It's part of the Uptown Bowling Alley family. The previous owner, before the Britons took it over, had actually converted half of the lanes to 10-pin. So it's 8 lanes 5, 8 lanes 10, and it's very far west end of the city.
And how many bowling alleys are there in Winnipeg now?
Whew. Well, let's see. Village Inn, St. James Polo Park, those are all within 5 miles of each other. Rossmere and Roxy, they're within 2 miles of each other. Windsor's closed now, but it was within 2 miles of Coronation. Coronation's about 4 miles from Dakota. The St. Vitel's closed now, so Gary Lanes is closed now. Mosienko is the only one on Main Street, so we were able to run our Unicity Men's League with 8 bowling alleys and have some bowling alleys to spare.
So you were talking miles in between. How do you know this? Did you step them off? Like, where'd this come from?
Oh, well, my job
Running out strikes.
as an assessor was to put houses in the tax roll or process permits. So I know the city like the back of my hand.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense. That's way better than stepping it off.
So when you're
That's
asking,
amazing,
like,
though.
hey, how far away is this? Oh, it's about 7 miles. Not 15 minutes or 20 minutes. About 7 miles.
Well, some people like landmarks, when you're giving directions as opposed to distances. So
Yeah.
turn by the Boston Pizza or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Still not talking bowling. We're doing an amazing job.
Yeah. We're doing really good.
But
Sorry,
we're
Jeff,
still on the youth. We're still on the youth in those days. So started playing YBC. Early days. Did you play in the 4 steps? Was there a Coca-Cola challenge then? What sort of
It was,
competitive lane did you?
It was 4 steps, and the first time I made the team was in Bantams. I actually qualified. I could have been singles. I passed up on it to be in the team. We lost in the provincials, and the scores I threw would have made it on as singles, but that's okay. And we had a very, very big program. We bowled, our senior boys bowled, or senior league bowled Sunday nights, and we had 10 lanes. And we were in a real tough zone. St. James was the best alley in the zone, so Village Inn didn't win very much, but we did win in 1979 and went to the Nationals in BC, and pretty pivotal actually in some ways, because we had one of our practices on a Sunday afternoon. We were on like 2 and 3, and the Masters was bowling on the other side of the bowling alley, and our coach, Alice Ashishin, actually is a life member of Masters now, fundraising. And she pointed out, like, I see you bowling in Masters, and they were all in the matching shirts, and I thought, well, this is the coolest thing ever. So, and that particular year, Don Van Dale won 3 out of the 4 tournaments. And it's funny, the one game I watched him bowl, that last game was $150 to fall out of the step ladder. He could have won all 4 tournaments. But we went to the Nationals, and I had a huge fight with my coach at the Nationals. In fact, it started the provincials, because we finished first before the 2 teams that were ahead of us, and we bowled like 1,002, and our coach ran us up and down each side. Oh, you bowled so bad, blah, you lost it, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out those 2 teams won like 900, 840. So we ended up winning the trip, so she had to eat her words there. Then I fight with her at the Nationals, so I said, that's it, I'm not going back to this bowling alley. And my dad bowled Sunday mornings with Tom Woodward, brother to Joan Shannis, brother-in-law to Norm Shannis. And Tom coached at Windsor. Tom lived less than a mile from me, so I could get a ride. So off I go to Windsor, and I make the most important connection of my whole life, Norm Shannis. A, because I believed everything he said, because he's one of the greatest bowlers of all time. B, because when my season ended after that year, because at that time, YBC ended for seniors in grade 12, he needed a couple of players to bowl in the major men's league, like the legendary league.
I think
So I got the bowl. When in it, and he picked up another guy from his Wednesday night league, just bowling in a mixed league, Steve Stasiuk.
Oh, Steve.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Stevie
That's
played
awesome.
Nationals with Stevie Stasiuk in 2004.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
great
Beauty
player.
of a guy. Love Stevie.
Yeah, he's, I'm going to say great player, not just good, but great. And I don't throw the word great around very much. I think that word's thrown around way too easy, talking about people. Very good, fantastic, superb, dynamite, excellent, whatever you want. But great is a different word. But I'm going to throw that to Steve. He was tough as nails. And so we won the city championship. We won the league championship. We had a dominant team, because not only did we have Norm Shannis in the team, we had Keith Barber. And he's one of the 2 guys that would give up my name for the top 100 list, because he was voted the greatest Western Canadian bowler ever. And he's not even on the top 100 list. Like, it's ridiculous. And the other guy I would give it up for is John Matthews. I learned so much from John Matthews. So, you know, and I'm sure anybody that's on the list can find somebody that they could give up their spot for, because this sport's all about mentoring, right?
Yeah.
We don't figure this stuff out for ourselves. Like, somebody tells us. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, I go to Windsor Lanes. I end up in the big league. It's fantastic. But when I won the high school championships that year, it was called the Pepsi Cola tournament in 1980. My coach was Doug Wood.
Oh,
He's bowling Friday nights as well. And we lived in Charleswood, and this was at Mosienko on the other side of town. And I didn't necessarily have a car all the time, so I was getting rides with him because he lived between me and Tom. That's how close we all lived together, like twists of fate. And he told me all this stuff from Bobby King and the legends. 1 ball at a time, strike, spare, 15, strike, spare, 15. And Tom Patterson asked me about a bowler once upon a time. I said, hey, great first ball, 3rd ball, not so good. I mean, it's a 3-ball game, like it or not, right?
Yeah, great points.
In fact, I made my fortune ultimately with my 3rd ball when it's all said and done. So, but I digress. Talking about the kids again. So yeah, we won the high school championship, and it was a telephone event at that time, and we had to go to Brandon to bowl. And us 5 kids shot 4,800 for the 4 of us, which is a pretty good score for mixed. That's the kind of score that could even win a gold medal at the C5 Nationals these days, 1,200 a game. So that's what I wanted to touch on with that.
Was there
the bowling?
Was there so the Pepsi's was just a phone in, so one team from every province would play and then phone it in?
Men's, ladies mixed, 3 teams.
Okay.
And so it became a function of like where you're bowling. I suspect, easier bowling alleys probably won more often than tougher bowling alleys. And it's funny, we bowled actually in Brandon, which traditionally has not been an easy bowling alley, but we had Jackie Monchak slash Sokolowski in the team, who was unbelievably good bowler, so that didn't hurt. And I shot 330 first game, and then my buddy Andy shot 980 his next 3, so 1,300 out of that 4,800 was from 4 games, so that doesn't hurt.
No.
That's a big help. Whatever happened to that Pepsi, high school challenge? Did it just sort of fizzle away, or did it convert into a different tournament?
I think it died, and then it was reborn. The existing high school championship they had, or the youth challenge, is a whole new creature.
Right.
It just falls down to sponsorship going away from bowling. I mean, the first time I made the Masters Nationals in '86, there's a 40-pounder of everyone's bed of rye from Hiram Walker. Like,
Welcome to the tournament.
money was to be had. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Definitely want to get transition to the Masters. Good try there, Geoff. But the last thing on the youth was in '83 Canada Winter Games. Tell us about that. That was in Quebec. Was that a travel to Quebec to play that Canada Winter Games? Obviously, yeah, because it was in all sports.
It was in Chicoutimi, of all places, and we were camping in a high school. We were all given sleeping bags. We slept on cots. Every province qualified differently. Ontario had a bowling school, and they chose their teams, and apparently the guy that had the highest average didn't even make the team. But they sort of split it into 2 sides of the draw because there's so many teams. But they didn't flip the floors. Like, they built some brand new alleys upstairs in a gymnasium or an armory, and those scored high. Like Bobby Osborne's first day was like 1620 for 5, and the basement didn't score as high, and we were stuck down there all the time. But there were some great bowlers there. I can't believe I don't have this list in front of me, but Alberta had Mortar and Gigliak, so not a bad start there. I think Greensides and Mike Bates were on the Ontario team. It was pretty deep. One of our guys that snuck in was a 15-year-old kid from the home alley. It was a tough alley, and he bowled out of his head. And that's the first time I ever saw Bob Greider. And I'd never seen anyone throw harder at that time. It's the first time I saw a guy string pins. He was unbelievable, and he went on to have a pretty good career. He never got a singles title, but he came out of Manitoba as a singles 6, 8 times, something like that. He was a hell of a player.
Fun.
So anyway, it was in Chicoutimi, Quebec. We stayed in the gym, and it's the only time it's been on the menu. It's I guess we're sort of lucky to go.
Yep, everybody who's done the '83 Canada Winter Games said they loved the experience. Speaking with Mike Bates and Bruce Mortar and all those guys, they said they just absolutely loved the experience from it.
Well, here's the twist of it all. Is that since we were 18,
yes,
there was a bar on base, so we went every day to the lounge to eat and party. So we had a great time. Even more so than some of the other people, I suspect. We played cards in the hallway till like 2 a.m. Oops, wait a second. We're getting into the blue show again.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That one's fine.
Yeah. But it'd be cool to see that roster of all the teams. I'm sure we've seen it again, but maybe Tim can find it somewhere. And
I do have it.
Yeah, I can send it to you if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Who won the '83? Who won the gold medal?
I think Ontario won.
Okay.
Ontario did, yeah.
But if I do get a moment, I can run downstairs. I know where it is. I just had it up the other day, so I could let you know for sure.
We got Tim on the job, Geoff. Yeah. Don't worry. You sit back. You tell us stories.
We'll set Tim up, and he's got the research. Yeah, he's the research guy. Yeah, set him up.
Ontario did win both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have it here.
Yeah, good job, Tim. That was pretty quick timing too.
It's all in folders, ready to go.
Yeah. Anyways, let's switch over to the Masters. I know that's a huge topic for you. You've played there a few times. Tim's got some stats to list off that were pretty incredible.
Yeah, so I mean, first year you were in '86, right? So 24 times you represented Manitoba Masters, 16 times on the team, 7 times as a single, 1 time as a coach. Incredible 40-time provincial tournament wins. So 34 as a tournament in Division 6 on the seniors, 4 national champion. Incredible. What are your favorite moments from it? What are your maybe some favorite teams? You have anything to share like that?
Well, our first team that won in 2007 was actually our 2011 team as well. You almost couldn't handpick a better team. 2007, it was here's our lineup: Shannis, me, Wes Payne, Glenn Howarth, and Scott Barber. So you really couldn't go much better than that. And then we won in 2011. It was Jim Llewellyn and I played the 2-hole. Then Chad Van Dale, Randy Morissette, and Scott Barber again. And that year Brad Rusnak was singles, and in terms of Brad just snuck out Scott in 2011 for singles by 5. And it's funny because we're having drinks afterwards, rejoicing in how our team turned out to be so good, and Scott's going, "Oh, I don't even know if I want to bowl," because he missed singles. He's all sad, and we're going, "You're going to feel better tomorrow when you look at the team," because you can't understate or overstate how important it is to have team chemistry. I mean, you don't have to be best friends, but you got to get along, Yeah. And I know that the men's team in 2013 that was in Alberta had a misfortune in that they went to buy 50-50 tickets, and Brad Rusnak goes, "Oh no, you can share mine and my wife's," and of course they win, but he didn't tell his wife we're sharing the money with the team. So that was the first day, and all of a sudden there's bad blood, and it sort of reflected into their play the rest of the way. I mean, it's an accidental thing that just somehow hurts you, eh? But no, those two teams are good. The team that won in 2016, Randy Morissette, Brandon Mansell, Kyle Young, Cordell Galbecca, and myself. Definitely the dark horse team. No one saw it coming at all. But they're drinking the Kool-Aid. As I got older and I kept playing good, they started to believe what I was saying a bit more. Because I mean, the team in 2011 that won, it would look like we were having coffee for like 7 or 8 frames. We were just sitting back and biding our time and then turning it on at the end, because it's like bowling's like baseball. You can't win it in the beginning of the game. You can't get far enough ahead. You need closers, so you better be pretty far ahead if you're going to hack up the end of the game. I mean, in 2017 or 2015, when I had my 1701 for 5 in the 4th game, we were bowling Alberta, and I had the front 8, and in the 9th frame I'm bowling anchor, right? All 4 guys in front of me open. so I miss a cutoff score. All of a sudden we're all open. Alberta gets a check frame. They get a check frame in the 10th, and they get us. And like one of my anthems as a coach that I say to my team is that, and this is whether you're an adult or a kid, is in the first frame you got to have 75. I don't care if it's 5 headpin 15s or 5 marks. Someone's got to have a double going home, and someone's got to strike out. And that's just to fight off the other team. That's not even to get ahead of them. That's just somebody in their team is going to do that stuff. So in that situation, we did not do that. So we got run over.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, the last year ever at the Nationals, you guys were bowling, Alberta's bowling next to us. We had a 10th frame, Manitoba. We had 218 out of 25. 45, 35, 45, 43, 45 in the 10th.
Huge.
So, and the thing is, we were bowling BC for 3rd spot, and they were pretty far ahead of us, but they weren't anymore. So that was, I'd never seen anything like it before, like as a player or even watching. It was really pretty cool.
That was in Gatineau, I believe, right? I think
it was, yeah.
I think you guys were on 1 and 2, I think. So I remember.
We were right beside you guys. I remember talking to you about Tim going, "I can't believe this. This is crazy."
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And for me, I was so lost because there was so much humidity, and I had been bowling so bad, and I threw some balls in the screen at a nick. that I had to go to like my retirement ball. I couldn't even throw my real ball. I'd go to my one stepper just to bunt it out in the lane because I had no confidence in my real shot at all. And it worked out pretty good. So if it should fall, then I never go to the Nationals again, God forbid. The idea that I had to throw the Bob Gaylor for 3 games was pretty funny. I don't know if you guys know who Bob Gaylor is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who Bob Gaylor? I've heard of Bob Gaylor, so yes, I know who that is. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
Steve
a good
Stasiak ran
adjustment
him
to
once
have
at the
in your-
Nationals. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So that's a good adjustment to have in your back pocket when you need it, though, because there's situations where, yeah, like, and we've seen it in Quebec a few times where, like, humidity and, we're playing in the summer for Nationals, and those approaches get really, really tough. It's a really good adjustment to have in your back pocket if you're confident with it, for sure.
Well, I warm up with it all the time, and the basis of it is, it's like your golf swing. Every golf swing has from here to here, right? And that's what my one stepper is. It's just my from my power stroke on without all the approach speed. And I started doing it just to get the ball off the end of my hand when I warmed up, because people go and start throwing balls at the head pin. They're not even warmed up. I mean, as a baseball pitcher, Kerry, you'd know, you're not going to go out there and throw your slider on your third ball. You're still lobbing it around a few times, and yet guys are judging the lanes and judging the conditions, and they're not even warmed up. So
Yeah. I do one step every once in a while if I'm really lost, but I learned how to do it through lawn bowling. We started a lawn bowled for years with Lynn and Bruce, and it really creates timing for the one step. And I don't know if you knew George Shillabeer.
Oh yeah.
But he was a phenomenal lawn bowler too, and yeah, so that's kind of where I started learning how to do one step, and it's good to have every once in a while.
Yeah.
When I busted my ankle, it was something I went to. I couldn't slide at all. I couldn't walk, so I just took one step and threw.
It's having to train the body, the momentum, and kind of get your body going, and then you move.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You step at the end.
I watched Shillabeer beat one of the few times I went to Edmonton. He beat Roy Cunningham in the final, and I can do it too. He would lean back like this and put the ball here in his sternum on his big belly, and just sit there and rest. And now I can do it too. But
Yeah.
that was some of the greatest
You're right,
bowling
you
ever.
did.
That was some of the greatest bowling I ever saw, because Cunningham in the qualifying had like opened with a 401 and threw a 450 in the 4th game, and then ended up in the tournament final. Like unbelievable bowler. Roy
What
Cunningham.
tournament would that have been?
Edmonton.
Rose Bowl.
In the Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl, yeah.
90 something around there?
Probably early 90s, yeah. I didn't go there too often because it was a bad time of year. And talk about a hotbed of maniac bowlers, holy smokes. And plus, the bowling alley was such a high-scoring bowling alley. When we're coming from the low-scoring bowling alleys we have, you sort of outgunned. Like in our leagues, we had a 7-in-a-row pot. And it would carry over sometimes. Like, how many times at Bonnie Doon does someone not throw a 7-bagger in the first game?
Yeah.
Who won that tournament?
It was 91, I think. George Shillabeer?
Yeah, George won in 91.
Yeah, 91.
George never changed until the day he died either.
He's a great guy.
Exactly.
I bowled with him in league one year, my brother and I and George at Skona Lanes down in White Ave. Great place.
He's
Awesome
a
dude.
character. We had a pro challenge at KJ,
Yes.
and Daryl was there, I believe, and Dexter was, and I'm hearing
Johnny.
his beep, and Johnny, and I'm hearing his beeping, and I thought it was a foul line. I'm like, what's going on? Is the foul line not working? No, it was his oxygen tank, and I was like, George, like, what's going on? And he's like, he just f-bombed me. He's like, get back there, and he's like just beeping the whole time. It was his oxygen tank. But that's just George, so yeah.
But even when he was out of bowling and retired and whatever, and he was just focusing on lawn bowling and taking care of the lawn bowling pitches, I guess is I would call him. He was still super involved and interested in everything that was going on in bowling. He'd call me once a month just to find out what's happening in Masters and the Open and stuff around the country. And yeah, he was super invested. He was absolutely awesome, dude. So that's funny. I'm glad you can now tribute to George by putting a ball on your belly.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because there's a little clip in the news from 2018 when I won. They got Kyle Young, my coach, talking to me here, and I am standing there in the pit like this with the ball on my belly, just trying to get the pulse down and get my heart out of my throat.
Yep.
So tell us more about that 2018 tournament singles. Obviously, different playing singles. You did it 7 times, and from what I understand, you made the step ladder 5 times out of those 7 playing singles, which is a pretty solid feat. But in 2018, you won the gold. Who did you play in the final of that? And maybe walk us through the qualifying of that as well, Geoff.
Well, I played Bradley Titgett in the final, and I didn't realize at the time. Because I didn't look at the stats till later, like him and the guy from BC, Matt Harms, they just lit up the semifinal. Like I think Brad had 700 for 2, so like poor Matt only had like 620 for 2. Poor guy. And as you know, it's out of your hands. And I'm going to throw Tim in this because poor Tim only started with 330 against the kid from Ontario. What's his name? Cody.
Cox. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's had 330 for a win, and then he goes 340.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, there's no defense in bowling, right? So I got sort of lucky in the fact that he had 1070 for 3, and then he only had 80 in the 5th or 80 in the 6th. So I came up in the I was hacking. I came up in the 6th, and I had the lead, even though I had like 90 in the 5th. And I got a double. Finally, I moved left, and I just threw it as hard as I could. Stopped trying to play the game, just freewheel. And I got a double, and then I think he had a mark open, and I got a corner. And then I ran around like I got a strike, because in that situation, it was, But, I mean, that's something I do, too, though, is that I when I fantasize about bowling for the big money, I fantasize corner, spare corner, because all I can do is throw it in the side. I can't get a strike. I can just throw it in the side. So that's what I visualize. If I'm lucky enough to get a strike, that's fine. So one of the things, and that's when I talked about drinking the Kool-Aid with my team there, the one in 2016. I got them to embrace celebrating corners, because if you need a strike to celebrate, you're going to celebrate 4-5 times a game. But if you like your corners, 8-9 times a game, you might celebrate if you're having a good game. So. And it sort of can get in the other team's head, like, why are they celebrating? It wasn't even a strike. But I'm celebrating because we're winning. Because, if you got a double and you got a corner, that's 39 on the scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
I think Geoff would be pretty good at what's my score game.
I didn't get that.
Didn't hear you, Daryl.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Geoff would be pretty good at the what's my score game. I'm not sure if you've watched the podcast. We've had a game here, Geoff, of what's my score up to what last 5 frames, 135. What do you get if you get triple corner punch, right? So. Oh
yeah. Well, if you want to be an anchor bowler, you better be able to do the math. So, yeah.
That's what the coach is for.
So that was pretty cool to win the Masters, as a single champion. That's sort of one of the defining feats. Here it is.
This is one of my favorite celebrations on time.
It's not quite the highest jump I've ever seen, but it's an excited jump.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I was so very sick. The Alberta guys, the men's team brought their babies, and their babies made everyone on the plane sick. So, and it went through Alberta first. And what's funny is that I was super sick in the final, and so was Christine Posa. And I think I got it from slapping her hand. Like, she accidentally slapped my hand one time. She's going, "Oh no, I shouldn't have done it." And I got back after making the singles. Like, my last day, I went 7 wins, so that's how I got first place. That was pretty exciting. When I played Titgett that last day, he actually got on me early, 4-bagger, but then he went 5 hole, 5. So 4 spares and a strike catches up to 150 in the 5th, right? I got the strike in the 10th. He didn't. And then the 6th game, I had a hack game against Johnstone from Newfoundland. And it was coming down to last balls. We're both looking at 5, and he's throwing first. I'm going, if he gets 5, I got to get 5 to win, but got a deuce. So I just got to throw it in the middle. And then my last game against the fellow from Southern Ontario, his name escapes me for the moment. I went corner spare double, 12 count double, miss spare double, corner spare for 328, just to prove my point again. it ain't about strikes. It's about running marks, right? I didn't even have a 3-bagger. I had 328. So that was good. And when I got to the hotel, the men's team had just they were sitting first. They're doing real well. And like, we're going to go to the hot tub. We're going to go to the hot tub. I says, no, we're going to go get a steak. We're going to get some vegetables. We're going to like get ready to bowl tomorrow. So we had a great time at the restaurant, get back to the hotel. I'm going to lie down, phone my wife. 10 minutes later, I'm in my pants, my jacket, my hat, wrapped up in the blanket like this, shivering. And Karen Armstrong said, I heard what's going on in the bathroom there. I'm going, oh, that poor guy. And then I found out it was you. So I didn't sleep that night. My fever broke, luckily, around 3 in the morning. And so you got Brad Titgett, bundle of energy, right? Celebrates every shot as much as anybody. And I'm drinking Gatorades, I'm drinking water, I'm sitting like this. Oh my God, going to the bathroom every 10 minutes to like have a shower in the bath, trying to survive. So one of the reasons I celebrated like that is because I'd done no celebrating to speak of at all, because I needed to save my energy. So.
Yeah.
But I've always been the one of the fellows from Quebec. Jesus, they've called me a firecracker because my son would have been a YBC in 2016 there, and he's like, "Oh, your son, he's a firecracker, just like you." And you guys saw Ryan, because Ryan was crossing with the Manitoba. He's on the teaching team, and he is a firecracker, and he's an example of the kind of guy I feel most sorry for. Like an up-and-comer, him and Derek Orm, guys that really could do it all. Like they could win it all, but they may not get the chance because it won't be there. And to get off the topic of bowling, like what professional sports are going to be in 10 years if the kids don't grow up playing them? Like, yeah, it's going to be nuts. Anyway, so long story short, I managed to throw the big shot there. So very satisfying. And I was talking to Diane Violini the next day, and she understood how I was feeling, because she had the 6 Masters titles, singles, but she never had the C5 singles title. So it sort of felt like she had a hole in her resume, And I did feel like, in the golfing terms, like best golfer not to win a major kind of thing. So to actually get that off my back in the nick of time was as much satisfying as it was, making me happy.
No, for sure. That's something that obviously not a lot of players win. So to see you take down that feat was pretty cool. And for everybody sharing those videos and stuff of that moment is unreal. Even watching it today, just on this podcast, it gives you chills just knowing that was the win at all, right? That's pretty cool.
And I don't think that video. I'm pretty sure the celebration goes on past the end of that video. Like, I'm pretty sure you did another loop around to the foul line, then back out, and I'm pretty sure that was cut significantly short. But you overcame a lot that week, and I remember running into you a few times, and you wandering around the hotel, pretty much dying. But there was something that went through that tournament that was just. I mean, we had 2 guys on our team. Oh, am I back? Yeah, we had 2 guys have to go get to pens, and Danny Bear almost died, and Nelson Frank was like on his deathbed, and Christine. Yeah, it was a rough weekend, but to overcome all of that and come out on top it just adds to the win.
Well, I sometimes wonder if getting sick helped me. I don't know, because I showed up on the last 3 games to watch the men's team. They couldn't even believe they were seeing me, but I'm a team guy, and I went back to the hotel to have a nap, and I don't know if I would have been as low key if I hadn't have been sick. I mean, here's some little trivia for you. Neil Young was dying of a fever, 104, when he wrote the whole album Harvest, like in one night, when he was absolutely dying. So maybe it taps into a different part of your brain when you're that ill. I don't know. Maybe that's an argument for why I've done so good hungover. And that's the irony. Like, I've been tournament director, I'm supposed to enforce the rules, and yet, I'm bowling so bad, I'm going to play hungover the next day on purpose. But that's a blue show thing again, so we'll leave that.
Different years. We talked to great lengths here about, obviously, 2007, 11, but what about some of those later 80s, 90s Masters teams? Some of those key highlights, and what would you learn most from some of the veterans that you would have played with back then, Geoff?
Well, '94, Doug Wood was let me the first time I'd just gotten my level 2 coaching, so he let me coach him in the singles, and that field in '94 in Oshawa was unbelievable. I played in a field like that in 2012 when I was singles in Newfoundland. It was Darren Rich, Matt Schultz, Kevin Clark, myself, Jeff Watts, Bobby Torreville, Max Lafreniere, and Lee Escott. Like, as deep a field as you can find. And the '94 was like that. And Doug let me coach him, and I was really finding my feet as a coach. I didn't want to screw him up, but it was the first time I was coaching in a singles match at that end. And so that was educational. Dallas coached us that year in '94. And she's actually one of my coaches in '83 for the Junior Winter Games. She coached the ladies. And we're going to touch on Dallas again later, too, if we can. She and Sandy and Karen and Chris Monchak all went into the C5 Hall of Fame, and they had a nice tribute thing here in Manitoba, but it really didn't touch on Dallas at all and her influence at all. She averaged 279 one year. She was an unbelievable player in the day, and a lot of the things that I embraced, I got from her. And here's one: you got to stop getting so mad. And telling somebody to stop getting so mad is like telling an alcoholic to stop drinking. They have to decide that they're got to stop getting mad. So when I finally did decide to stop getting mad, it was like just before '97 when I won Saskatoon. And what's funny is when we were having dinner after it all, I sent a bottle of wine over to all the tables, and Brian Goodhope brings over the bottle of wine, because at the time he wasn't drinking, and he gives me the grandfatherly talking to, like, you're such a good bowler, people are going to look up to you, you can't kick racks, you got to be a better role model, blah blah blah. And I'd sort of already figured that out, but he was entirely not wrong. I mean, the hardest thing about being a good player like we are is when you're bowling in a league and you're bowling bad, people love to watch that. Hey, he can bowl bad too. So if you're going to kick a rack, you're making them happy. Yeah, beautiful. Keep bowling bad. And the pins don't know. The pins just see you jumping around. They think you're happy. Well, keep giving them the business. Yeah.
They don't know that you're mad at them.
Yeah, they think you're celebrating. You like that.
Funny.
But anyways, the Masters team you're touching on. I guess in '97 I got coached by my second cousin Brian. I used to joke that poor Brian was such a straight shooter that I showed up and dragged the family name down. But there was a point during the tournament where I'm telling him how I'm thinking, because that's something else I want from my players. I don't want to have to go and ask you stuff. I want you to tell me how you feel. Like, I want you to keep me in your game. Like, I have a psychology degree from the University of Winnipeg, so I want to help you figure out what to need to do. I'm not going to say move over 2 boards kind of thing. I want you to figure out what you need to do so you're ready to go, because you don't necessarily embrace what I tell you to do. So anyway, I'm telling Brian my adjustments, and he looks at me and goes, how do you think about all this stuff? Well, I feel like when I'm bowling, every time you play, it's a new case, and I am Sherlock Holmes, and I'm going to find the clues to the solution at the end. And you give me more games, I got more time to find it, right? So,
Totally.
That's a good way to look at it. A lot of people don't like making adjustments. Tim Wiseman, and they die by the sword, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you got to make those adjustments and figure it out, or you're just super talented and you don't have to worry about that. But
well, sometimes you're going to throw the ball like it's square. It's just the nature of the beast, eh? And you just got to hope that happens to you in your leagues instead of in tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen.
It's such a good point, though, and just keep working at it. Like you said, the more games you have, the more chance you have at learning and figuring out what's wrong. And even if it's too late in that event, you're going down to your last 2 games and you figure out something then. Well, that's something in your pocketbook for next time too. Maybe that's something that'll work in that center again, or you're in a similar situation somewhere down the line. Now you have another out. It's always worth trying to the end, because you never you never stop learning.
Well, it's funny. For the years I didn't go to Saskatoon, because my wife stayed home with the kids, and I had a good job, but still, we're running 2 cars. I couldn't really afford the investment, and there was a money tournament that same weekend in Brandon, just down the road, and I'm double shifting in it. It's like game 6 of the second shift, and I'm playing scratch, because my average is 265, and it's the first time I decided I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to lock my arm instead of pushing away. And I threw some good balls. I go out that Wednesday night, I shoot 13-16 for 4. And I've done it every ball since. And I wouldn't have figured it out if I wasn't in a tournament to try it. Because if you try it in a league when you try it in a practice, you're not really committed to it. But I mean, I was trying the tournament, and well, how come you're still trying? Well, there's a pot every game to win. Like, you spend all this money, I want some money back. Give me some money back. I mean, I said over dinner once in Saskatoon on the Sunday night that I would rather shoot 1,000 for 4 with a 370 and get paid than shoot 4 275s. Like,
and not make the cut.
Well, no, it's just a league. But
right.
But I just want some money back, and that was one of the articles I wrote actually for the paper, talking about the pocket. People want to throw the ball in the pocket. Well, what you need to do is aim at the middle of the head pin and trust your stuff, right? Because if you try to throw it in the pocket, you're taking away half of the side of the head pin. Like, you got to trust your stuff. But you need to get some money in your pocket to go bowling, because you got to drive to bowling, you got to pay for bowling. Like, so the pocket works both ways.
Yep. I really like that you said that. We have so many people, and you know what? I guess there's 2 different mindsets. I mean, you look at Gino, who just is the incredibly accurate, and he lives and dies by being accurate. But I've always been the person that's like, I would rather throw really good rotation, and I'll find a line where, like, hey, if I put the ball down a little, it might move off the middle and hit the right side, or I lob the ball out a little, you might hit the left side. But the big thing is, if you put lots of shit on it, then you hit thick, you're gonna get a strike. You hit thin, you're gonna get a strike. You just can't put it right on the face, and you're just trying to find room for error. And I really think that is such a huge thing in this game. It's just trying to find out what gives you the biggest strike zone.
Agreed.
or corner zone.
Or corner zone, yeah.
Yeah,
there you go.
zone, yeah.
I'm going to throw a sports analogy for you here. So here's another way to look at having a corner. And in our sport, the ball weighs the same as each of the pins. So it's 5 against 1. I mean, in 10 pin, the ball weighs 16 pounds. The rack of pins is 35. It's 2 to 1. Like, of course they should get strikes. And there's no rubber. They fly everywhere. Ours pins are fighting to stand. So it's like I'm playing basketball against 5 guys. So when I leave a corner, hacked in the act, go to the line, shoot your foul shots. You can't make all your foul shots, but it's sort of the same thing, because when the pins are ganged up, they got a defense, eh? But when it's all alone, foul shot, no defense, bang, you should be able to drill those things.
At least you made a shot. What's a good spare percentage? Like, what's a good free throw percentage? Right, 90% or 85%. I don't know what it is in NBA terms of what a good free throw percentage is.
Well, in basketball right now, it's insane. Like when I grew up in the 80s, of course, Shaq couldn't even shoot 50%. But
it was hack-a-Shaq. Yeah.
By the time he retired, Tim Duncan, and he was like a 50% free throw shooter when he came out of college. He was up to 80%. I think Steve Nash was the first guy to shoot like 90% back-to-back seasons. But now, all these kids are taught in school to shoot free throws, and like the big men can all shoot free throws now. It's crazy how much better they are now than they used to be 25 years ago.
So in 5-pin bowling, you're saying a good corner pin percentage would be what?
Well, the thing is, the starting point is 4 to 5, and looping back nicely to formative bowling, there came a point when I was pretty young that I realized I had to hit the head pin 80% of the time. I had to pick 80% of my corners. So once the year I first picked 80% of my corners, my punch percentage was 26. But in pool terms, too many guys get in trouble trying to position their cue ball after trying to pot a ball when they can't even pot a ball. So you need to hit it to get strikes. I mean, the guys with the highest strike percentages are guys that only hit it like 66%, right?
Hashtag Palmer Hagen.
Palmer. Where's Palmer?
Who is the sorry Jeff? Who did all the statistics on their bowling shots? Who do we have on the podcast that did all that detailed work?
I know when what was it? The Edmonton 5-pin. What was that league called?
Pro League.
The Pro
EPL.
League. We did a stats package for that. I'll see if I can find it here.
But
continue your talk a little bit, and I'll see if I can find
we
something.
had a guest on the podcast that really went into depth on their statistics of corner pin percentage, of their head pin percentage, of all those things that they really analytics that they really took a close look at. And I can't remember who it was. I don't. Somebody, anyways. But so Jeff, continue on. You were talking about spare percentages and those types of things.
See, 4 to 5, 80% is the start. The thing is, 5 out of 6 is only 83, 6 out of 7, 85, 7 out of 8, 87. So it's only 7% between 87 and 80. But 7 out of 8 is a whole world different than 4 to 5. So at the highest level, the percentages are diminishing, but the actual execution is way higher. So I mean, it's the same sort of thing. Like for there was a bunch of years where I'd punch the most head pins in my league, but still leave the least wood. So if you leave only 4 pins of wood in a game, and given the pins worth 2, that's 2 sticks out of the 50 you're given. So that's 48 out of 50 conversion percentage. That's 96%. So if you leave 10 pins of wood, that's 5 pins out of 50. Now you're only 90%. So there's my twist on your analytics for you. It's, to my mind, the most important stat is wood, because it gives you your percentage of execution. That and attempts. I mean, years when I averaged 250, you look at my attempts, 10.74. Years you average 270, 11.04. And like that's more doubles than opens across the season. So
yeah.
I think it'd be cool to see some people that collect those stats, this upcoming season a lot more in detail. I think I'm going to definitely take a look at that part of my game a lot more, is the spare percentage, the second ball, the third ball, like you said, Jeff, right? You've had some really good insight here already to take away. So
well, when
I like it.
Yeah.
One year I did coach. I gave the guys a stats package. And here's the team I coached. Here's my 3 rookies. Kevin Boyko, Randy Morissette, Wes Payne were my rookies. Glenn Howarth and Scott Barber. So I gave them a stats package, and I gave them the miss percentage stat. And only one of them was over 50% on their miss spares. And one of the reasons people don't shoot their miss spares as well as they could is because they're making adjustments off their first ball. Well, it was a miss, so it wasn't a good ball, so what are you adjusting for? And I like this one. Wait till you hear this one. When you go in your house tonight and you go to put your key in the lock and it doesn't go in, the next time you try to put the key in, you're going, oh, I got to turn my elbow this way, or my wrist has got to go this way, or I did it too fast. No, you just put the key back in the lock. Just trust yourself.
But you're absolutely right, and I've heard this all the way from YBC and whatever, and some of the best bowlers I know had definitely said this. But hey, you miss. Not now. You got to try to aim for the other pocket. Why? You made a mistake. You're going to make a mistake every once in a while. Why wouldn't you try to throw your normal shot at it again?
There's a little bit difference there, though, Dexter. Like you were saying, your strike shot or your corner shot or whatever, you're not aiming for a pocket. Where when you're shooting for a missed spare, your percentage of carry is probably a little bit better. Not saying that's for everybody, but people that play pocket, I think it's a good change, because you can play different pockets. In like myself, I have 2 different lines for 2 different pockets, and it's proven I've played a lot better when I make my change for my other pocket. If I miss spare on my say I'm shooting for the left side pocket and I miss left, why the frick would I throw it there again? I'm probably gonna either pull it left because I'm throwing for left pocket and it could be skinny and I leave the corner anyways, or I make the jump right and shoot for the right pocket and my ball carry should be better.
But you're super confident. You've got to be super confident in those 2 shots, whereas a lot of players don't have 2 shots. They have 1 shot.
No, that's why I'm saying it's 2 different things. Yeah. I get what you're saying. It's not for everybody. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I think there's 2 sides to that. It isn't just so cut and dry. But
that's interesting. Kerry's opinion there. Dex, is that he has 2 different shots that can play that frequently. That I missed to the left. I'm going to throw my right pocket shot. Me personally, I don't have that, so I know people could say if you miss to the right, then make sure you stay on inside the wood on the left side. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still just trying to throw my strike shot again to really clean it up, or to just throw a better first shot. Right, I think that's what Dex you were saying in the first place, is just throw a better first shot.
Right, and you start seeing so many people try to push it to the other side, and that's when you start seeing so many people, and they say it's the hardest spare. I've heard lots of highest level people say it's the hardest spare in the game when they're just pushing it at the middle and then they punch it. They cherry out the head pin almost every time because they're trying to throw the ball the way that they're not used to.
Okay, how about this for a little bit of comment interaction? Would you rather go for a miss spare or a corner pin spare? Let's see what. So, would you rather go for a corner spare or a miss spare? Take the count out of it. Obviously, that's we obviously know we'd rather have the corner pin spare for that. But from feeling comfortable, I've got this shot. I need the spare to win. What would you rather go for, the corner or the miss spare? Right.
Dex, you want to answer this?
Definitely corner spare. I think that my corner pin spare percentage is the highest in the country. So,
Okay.
Wow, gauntlet.
That's risky.
I'm just out there trolling Jim Head right now. No, honestly, corner spares and besides what the running joke, my corner pin spare percentage when things matter is really, really high. I would take that, and obviously, better odds of hitting one pin than three. So, corner spare all day.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, ultimately, the ball, we throw so hard, the ball hits 2 pins. So if you're throwing it a full rack of pins, you're trusting some pins to try to help you. And if the pin is there all lonely, again, the foul shot, it's the easiest shot. So, I mean, it's easy to get tapped on your miss spare. So you're depending on some help.
Sure. Yeah. But,
yeah.
Go ahead,
Sorry, here's a good comment. So that ball side tap, that is a real thing in 5-pin bowling, because if you throw the ball through the pins, right? So that's a good reason why you wouldn't throw pocket side, because you could get tapped and you try and throw for the left side again. But like Geoff was kind of saying, a lot of people are just throwing to hit the middle and hoping their stuff does the extra work, right? It works a little bit off center and you don't have to worry about that. So I do agree with Geoff and Dexter's point of view. I just feel that you don't have to feel that you're in the wrong if you do pocket play. That is, I guess, my side of things.
I just think playing in the middle of the head pin gives you a higher hit percentage. That's all. So, so Kerry, you're talking about playing pocket play then. So you start the tournament. What's your choice? Left side, right side?
Left side.
Left side. So do you make adjustments to go right side sometimes when it's not going your way?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I sort of do the same thing, but I do it by moving my feet. Like I throw up the slot as a rule. So we'll say center dot is my main shot, but I can throw from 2 dots to the right and 2 dots to the left. And when I throw from 2 dots to the right, well, that sort of makes me hit the right side of the head pin. And when I play 2 dots to the left, that makes me play the left side of the head pin, whether I like it or not. It's really tough to get it across when you're playing from that side.
Yeah,
which so makes Bobby Herman so amazing to me. Like he throws that monster hook with 100 miles an hour from the corner, and somehow still gets across the head pin for strikes. Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So same thought process. I play 1 dot to the left for left pocket, and I play 1 right to play for the right pocket. So yeah, it's same thought process, and those are my big changes. Sometimes I'll change rotation, but that hasn't happened in a while. Can't trust that backup shot as of the last few years.
That's a bold play.
Used to do it. Don't do it anymore. Not good enough anymore.
Let's good chat. Obviously, we'll continue this, but we're a little behind schedule. Anybody would have figured. Go figure. No, we're having great conversation. Love it. But we talked a little bit about Masters. There's some things we'll dabble on there to finish Masters later on, Geoff. But the other tournament, of course, we always talk about lots is the C5 in the Open. You haven't played that as many times, or is it just that you didn't make it as many times? Obviously, give us a little insight there. Did you have a preference to playing the Masters versus the Open? I mean, your stats, sorry, just let me do this quickly, is 6 men's teams, or you maybe made a lot of Winnipeg teams, but then going to Nationals was 6 times men's, 1 mixed, and 1 coach. So help us explain some Open time.
Well, no, actually, pretty much if I made the Winnipeg team, we pretty much went on as a rule. I just like the format more so of the Masters. I mean, we've all done it. You're playing in the C5s, not bowling so good. You got like 58 in the 4th. You miss. You come off the lane. You're walking backwards. You don't want to look at your coach because you're going to get pulled. But Masters is, you throw that ball, you turn in the pit, and you go, oh my God, there's no one to come in for me. I'm stuck here. So it's more pure to that sense. Like, coaching becomes a factor in the C5. So having the 5 players, it sort of takes the coaching out of it a bit. I let my wife play. I chose to play money tournaments. But when it's all said and done, and this is going to tie back to when we were kids, my second year out of YBC, I was bowling Monday nights. This kid joined the league, Cam Boone. And we hit it off. And his dad was a good coach, great bowler too. Pardon me, very good bowler. Not great, no offense, Bart. I threw the word around bad there. But his dad was lift and roll, lift and roll, lift and roll. And Cam and I decided, no, it's roll. Roll and lift, but roll. You got to have roll. Plus, right around then, TV was coming on, and we decided we wanted TV. And that's really what I went for, was TV. Because, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a crazy year, you make both TV shows and the C5 and the Masters, like, that's a lot of vacation time to go bowling. So we went for TV. And, I mean, Cam, when he gets in his cups in the day, he'd get so mad at me. You beat me on TV, Cam. You're 4-1 on TV. You lost to your friend. Like, suck it up, man. Like, give your head a shake. So, and he was even more so a guy that stopped playing team bowling at all. In fact, there you go. What would the history of Alberta bowling be if Bruce Mortar never played with Lynn Howe? I never played in a team with Cam Boone. Never. Not one time.
You never played with him?
No. Never played in the same team.
Crazy.
And he was as tough as anybody. And in fact, I only played with Shannis a couple of times. Only the one Masters team ever. Both times I played with Shannis on the team, we got bronzes at the Nationals. It's luck of the draw sometimes. But I let my wife play. She did really well. Dylas would always start her because Karen was somebody that had 7-bagger in her pocket. She was a really good thrower. But towards the end of her career, like, the coaches would leave her on the bench on Saturday mornings, and it drove her crazy. Like, and sometimes she wouldn't even get in. But that being said, the last time she played and she got a gold, Matt Taransky started and played terrible. So Karen went up in the 9th, got a corner spare in the first strike in the 10th for a gold medal. So she went out in a blaze of glory. But having a mate that you can talk about bowling that understands what you're talking about and can suffer you being gone is priceless. I mean,
yeah,
very lucky with that.
Yeah, because you're exactly right. She understands the mindset that you're going when you want to go to compete at a provincials or a weekend away for the Masters for the qualifying, or, you know, the KG or a TPC or whatever it is. You're right. Yeah, go for it. I understand what you're going through. You're right. Absolutely huge.
It's one of those things, like, I still follow the tournament as it goes on, like, in real time to see what's happening. And in my head, I really wish I was there. But if I had it in my heart that I wanted it, I would be there. But I didn't have it in my heart so much, because I went to both Nationals a few times, and, you know, I like to whoop it up, and I'm just not recovered 4 weeks later and ready to go again. I'm just not. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Not
you're right. If you're at the top of your game, and Geoff, you obviously were in Manitoba, that if you're playing every Masters, you've got your weekend qualifying, so you've got a national event in July, and then you play the Open, you know that you're going to be playing at Easter, and then the chances are real good you're going to be playing at, it's a lot to commitment. So, you got to make the choice for sure. But a couple of your Opens, though, do you remember the couple of times you were All-Star at Opens? Which teams were those a part of that you got those?
The first one, I was an All-Star in 2002. The Nationals were here in Winnipeg, and we had a dynamite team. We had Doug Wood, Glenn Howarth, Dan Robson, myself. Our rookie was Brian Perego. He was bowling out of his head. He got charmed because we bowled up north, and that's where he was from, and he got charmed by the guys up there, and he had a killer provincials. And one other really good bowler, Rob Shanis. Yeah, we had just an unbelievable team. We just didn't play very good on the Saturday morning, and Quebec ran all over us in the semifinal, and then took the final the title from Alberta. But I guess here's an example of why I wasn't so fond of the C5s. You didn't even know the format until you went to the Nationals. Some year they qualified 4 teams. Some years they qualified 3 teams. Like, there's a few years that we qualified 4th where there was only 3 teams going on. So on a different year, we would have been playing. And this year we're not. So it was always up to the host committee, I guess. I don't know who decided how many teams were going to go on, but you'd think that would be sort of a uniform decision, right?
That's really interesting. The only ones that I've ever been to have always been 4.
Yeah, it was 3 in Winnipeg in 2002. It was 3 in Quebec in 1995. That year we were 4th. That was just a terrible year. We were bowling Saskatchewan, and ended up they were 3rd and we were 4th. And they broke a string on the head pin we're on 1 and 2. And when I'm playing, I'm playing. If I want to coach, I can coach, but I can't get distracted, eh? And my team in front of me, I'm playing anchor, are playing while their second bowler is waiting to throw his first ball to get the head pin fixed. And my team is playing beside this guy, sitting on the approach. Like, what are you guys doing? So all of a sudden, when they fix the lane, I'm waiting for their 2-hole guy, their 3-hole guy, their 4-hole guy all to play, because I'm anchor and I want to see what's going to go on. And it falls, I need a strike. I'm on a double. I leave a corner, we lose, and I was so upset. I went and shot a $170 next game. We ended up in 4th. But in the 2002 year, I played super good. I was I think I had second high tournament average. And at the last game, when we needed a couple of points to get in, Rob and I both shot like 340s. So it was pretty secure. And then when I made All-Star in 2005, I was on a mixed team. And this mixed team sounds great on paper. Me and my wife, Chris Monchak, Rob Shanis, Randy French, Barb Kowalchuk. Really super good on paper. But some of the people maybe didn't get along so good. And that goes to the chemistry thing, eh? But in those 20 games, it went to the 10th frame for me 16 times. It went to the 10th frame like all of the time. And I was 16 and 4 for wins. I had 265. I played super strong, and so I was happy to make the All-Star team there. It's one of those things too, like if I made an All-Star team, I would have felt really like it was a hole on my resume kind of thing. So I was really relieved, I guess, as much as anything else to get that badge.
Good for you. Now, were you...
Rob actually told me that when we were playing Quebec... Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say, when we were playing Quebec in that last day, the last rotation, he said it was the best game he'd ever seen bowled. I shot a clean game of marks, including 4 cutoff spares. When I went up on the 10th, I went first, and we were up like 200 going into the 9th. But their leadoff guy struck out the 10th. Their second guy struck out the 10th. Their third guy got 35 in the 10th. And I don't know that their anchor knew the score, because when I went up, I got a cutoff. He went and missed, and he jumped me. Like it was my turn to throw, and he sort of cut me off in the lane and gave me the open frame. So I didn't need to make the cutoff anymore. Like, I mean, if Dex, if you go up and get a cutoff and I miss, I'm going to give you a chance to punch that 3-pin. To my mind, the cutoff is the hardest spare. Like it's because what happens so many times is you throw a half ball for the chop, and you throw a half ball at the chop and punch it. So it's like you throw the same ball twice in a row, but neither of them have enough juice, eh? Or maybe depending on the bowling alley, it could be a 2/3 ball. Like it seems to me like Bonnie Doon is a place where you can get away with a 2/3 ball sometime and still get strikes.
You can get away with a quarter ball.
Matt
Tim's
Schultz
still
told me
bitter.
he used to practice there, and he'd practice missing the head pin on purpose and try to send strings around to get strikes when he was young at the old Doon there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good set up for that.
So just to wrap up some team event stuff, and then we'll move on to some of the cash games and tournament stuff. But what position did you prefer playing in the lineup? You talked about second a couple times.
I like anywhere but leadoff. I just want to follow somebody. I don't like leadoff. To my mind, everybody's anchor in the 10th frame. So I like 4-hole because I could go and get my 3 strikes in the 10th, so my anchor just needs a mark instead of me bowling anchor where I need 3 strikes to win. But Dallas Turner's theory was you put your best bowlers first. So, because if the first guy doesn't get a mark, the second guy better, because that gets heavy coming down the hill. So to that end, that's why I didn't mind playing second, because I could help fire the guys up underneath me, eh?
Yeah.
Does that make you feel better about all the times you played second, Tim?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I look back on a couple of teams where I wasn't assertive enough, where I should have said I want to be anchor, because looking back at it, like the guys I was with, they probably wanted me anchor. You kind of thing, because I'm an anchor that when I leave a corner, the boys can start jumping around because I ain't gonna miss that corner. You know what I'm saying? Some guys who like to throw a lot of strikes, maybe they're not gonna pick that corner. So it's still a little bit of nervousness. So, because I grew up, one of the games that I cut my teeth on was a check frame game. I bowled with John Matthews, and you try to get each of the 10 frames. So, and we bet everybody in the whole league. And John kept the stats. Like if you missed 0 for 1, 0 for 2, he'd let you know if you weren't converting his anchor. So as an anchor bowler, that was my duty, was to convert check frames. And like when we won in 2016, the third day, my team was on fire and I was terrible. But luckily, the first game, when I had 120 in the 8th, 2 guys on Northern Ontario had 120 in the 8th. Lucky me. So I had 2 games in that 16 block. I had 2 games under 200. My high game was 240, but they were going crazy. And a couple of times I ran 4 marks in a row for 4 check frames in a row because these guys were just going nuts. So I just sort of stayed in the background, made some marks, and just let the dogs run. Eh? It ain't all about me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got to realize that and say, no, it's not mine, but I'll be ready at the end, but I'm here. Yeah.
Well, I got 3 wins that day because I played, and our last game against Luke Duguay, I got away with a 210 for a win. He had a bad game, but it was funny because going into the last game, and this is the third day, right? We'd won our first 5 games, and one of the guys on our team, I won't say who it was, says, "Okay, guys, let's go at 8-0." And I look at him going, "We've just won 5 games in a row. What are you talking about?" So of course, what happens is their 2-hole guy, front 9. Thank you very much. And their leadoff guy strikes out 9 and 10. So how's 495 for 11 frames? Take that. Just keep your mouth shut and play. Eh?
Yeah, one game. Yeah,
Karma.
way to go. Yeah. Anyway, okay, good stuff on teams. Love the chat there. Let's go cash games. And again, you've got a nice little resume, Geoff, here into this. But I think we'll start off with 97 kg. It's a pretty big accomplishment to win that tournament. Would you say that that's probably one of the best moments of your career? But let's talk about that one for a bit.
Well, it's one of those things. Going to KG changed my life. Like when I first went in 1990, Everyone told me my ball was going to work, but I didn't really have money. So I sort of got sponsored to go on the condition that I asked Bruce Mortar to be my doubles partner first shift. Ask Bruce Mortar, even if he doesn't want to go in UB doubles, but you have to go in doubles 7 times. And it's something I've done ever since. Even if it's a small field, always double 7 times. Because if you bowl big, you want to sweep the money. Eh?
Yeah.
So my second shift, I shot 24-63, swept the doubles. Won a couple of matches, and it was funny because no one really had seen me there before. I'd only been to the 90. You know, it was in 1990. I hadn't even been to the C5 Nationals for the first time then. It was only the 86 Masters. So these guys, no one's really seen me before, except people that came to the Manitoba Open, and even they didn't know me as a bowler from there because we bowled at a Dakota, and the place was so tough. And I was able to accept the fact that I wasn't making the cut at Dakota because Brian Goodhope couldn't make the cut at Dakota. Bruce Mortar couldn't make the cut at Dakota. The place just didn't like their shots, and I knew they were great bowlers, right? So when I went on the road, I said, maybe this bowling alley likes me, and it did. And so I'm bowling Lenny Anseth, my first match the next day, and he tried to psych me out, as he does. As I'm walking past him, he goes, oh, this guy hasn't stopped throwing strikes, trying to make me stop throwing strikes. But I won a couple of matches. Then the next year when I went, my first shift qualifying, I shot 25-02. So high qualifier again, sweep doubles. I won 4 matches that year. And then 92 was the first year I hurt my hand. Like I put in my bio that I hurt my hand in 2000-ish, 2001 or whatever. But this is the first time I hurt my hand. It was all swelled up like this. Like I couldn't get my thumb on the ball, so I missed the cut. And I didn't go back again till 97. So I knew the bowling alley really liked me. And I missed the qualifying the first shift. And I go out second shift, and I'm looking for partners, and I need a 7th partner. Kerry Snyder, come be my partner. Me? Yeah, Kerry, be my partner. He goes, shoots 24-11. Thanks, buddy. I shoot 22-50. So, and I didn't just win the tournament. I won doubles, so that was nice. And I got half myself in the Calcutta when I won that tournament. So it was a real good payday for me. But I played 36 games. I lost in the A finals to Holdsworth, and he loves to bug me that, well, if I played you in the finals, I would have beat you. Yeah, because it would have been after midnight by the time we left. Like,
Yeah.
he totally froze me.
That
out.
would have been the slowest match ever. Yeah.
I couldn't sit anymore because I've been bowling for so long. So we're bowling 15 and 16ish. I walk all the way down along the back of the approach to 1 and 2. And I guess he saw me out of the corner of his eye, so he waited for me to come all the way back past him on the approach with 1 ball. So luckily for me, he went to play Mortar. Mortar beat him. And I played Violini on the other side. And I got through her. I had a good game last game, 270 strike up. And when I went up on the 10th, I didn't need the shot. So I went miss right, miss left, hit the headpin. And these older ladies in the audience booed me for beating her. Like, but I didn't need the strikes for the score, and then I started with a 6-bagger corner spare. And actually, that's something I told Bradley Titgett after he bowled me in the tournament, because there's pure scoring and there's match play. He struck out for 370 that first game in the Masters singles against me, but he didn't need it. He won before he stepped in the lane. If he starts the next game with those 3 strikes, he's Canadian champion. But he got those 3 strikes, even though he'd already beat me, and he ran out every one, and really enjoyed it. But there was no purpose in that per se. And and that's why my Masters team average mine isn't as high as it could be, because if the game's over and I've won and we've won, I'm just throwing my balls to go shake hands. Like, I don't need the score anymore, right? Like, what's the point of it? So anyway, that's another example of how I think about the game a little differently than other people. I mean, it's sort of like match play golf.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. The other guy picked up, drop your ball, hit a couple of putts, go to the next hole, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, my key match in that tournament ultimately, on the side I went up, I'm bowling Kevin Slippert, and we tied, but I needed
First
5
match.
on my last. Yeah, I needed 5 on my last ball to get the tie. So, and then I played a bunch of guys that are off the top 100 list: Bernie Menard, Lynn Howell, Rob Shanis, Lenny Anseth, Diane Bellini, and Bruce Mortar in the final. And I came back one time after a shot, and my trainer, the guy that sort of bankrolled me then, was Phil Robinson. He told me afterwards, he says, there was a streak there where you had 15 head pins and you got 15 13 times. So, if you go strike punch 15, double punch 15, three-bagger punch 15, that's 210 in the eighth. So that's still a good score, right? But, you get some bad counts on that. Now it's 187 in the eighth. So those fives really add up.
Yeah.
And so when I went to the final, what can I say? I bowled out of my head. 972, 348, 303, 321. I was going in. He got on me a bit in the second game. It was 348, 220. I went six-bagger corner spare, punch, sat down, came up, struck 9. And I had a strike 9. I came off the bench and got the strike in 10 for 348. And then I wasn't doing so well. Bruce had a big start, but I struck 7, 8, sat down, struck 9 and 10 to beat him like 303, 302. In the last game, I went three-bagger corner spare with a 100-pin lead. So I'll take 218 in the third any day.
Yeah.
I like to add in my leads,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it was very satisfying for sure. Life-changing event ultimately.
Yeah, I think it would be. Even you guys, the WCBT or any of these tour events. For somebody to have a title under their belt, it's just a big accomplishment for sure for anybody who's won any of these big tournaments.
The next event was Regina, and I made it to the semifinals there. I was playing Donnie Salmon. He ended up winning the event, and I went up in the 9th, and I got a 12 count, and I missed the spare, and I sat down, and he shut me out. Cam Boone, before halfway through the game, is going, Geoff, if you win this tournament too, you're my idol forever.
Of course he was. I can see that. 100% he's saying that too. Yeah. So, that's funny.
Yeah, I did. Regina was really good to me. Prairie Lanes really liked me, and Golden Mile liked me too. So people talk about liking bowling alleys. Well, people like bowling alleys that like them. It could be dust and dirty and the bathroom's disgusting, but man, if you're averaging 320, let me at it.
Yeah, it's the best place ever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's not start naming names of places like that, but we all like them. How about we switch to TSN? Because obviously you talked earlier about you wanted to play on TV. I wanted to be a TV player, you and Cam Boone. So obviously some success at TSN's 99 champion. Walk us through that event for that one, Geoff.
Well, in a bad way, I was sort of the pivotal player on TV ever because in '95 I had some personal balls and I was waiting for my ball to come back in the last show, and I took too much time. And I made a couple of comments to the audience, and Gino later goes, as soon as you started talking, Geoff, I knew you were in trouble. So I got suspended for the rest of the season for it. But that was the first time they started a game in the TV bowling in the third frame or the second frame. Like, they always wanted you to go fast. Like, as soon as the red light goes on, you go. Well, that's not my pre-shot routine. When the red light comes on, I can start my pre-shot routine. No, we need you to go fast. Well, so needless to say, in a bad way, I sort of revolutionized the game because, towards the end when Tom Patterson and Cam Boone are winning these things, like they're starting in the 8th frame. Like, these guys are taking so much time on the approach. Sorry, Cam. But, so anyway, the TSN. My first game, I go up first in the 10th. It's a 2-frame carryover. We both have 4 frames. And I punch. So I get 15, one of the biggest headpin 15s I ever got, because I'm lucky enough that he goes miss for 15, so I win. Then I bowl against Kenny Byrne. He starts with a double. I go strike spare. So he's got 2 frames. And then I throw 4 strikes. He sort of bleeds around a bit. But then he goes up first in the 9th, 10th, 11th for strikes, but misses. So I can go up in the 10th, go strike corner spare for 371. And lose. I needed 2 strikes. So I got the strikes for 388 to go on. Right. And then I'm bowling the semifinals against a fellow from BC. I see his face right now. Anyway, he goes up in the 10th, strike punch, and he throws 100 miles an hour, and somehow he does not get the bonus pin. Like it's a place where you can get cutoffs off punches, and he gets no bonus pin, so he gets 25. So I go strike punch. Oh no, it's all over. Oh, bonus deuce. Yay, I need 5 to go on, and I got the 5. In the final against Cam, I shot a clean game, all marks, 310. And what's funny is because I had him 5 frames to nothing, and he got a couple of marks, and then I threw a ball that was a head pin, turned into a cutoff for a spare, and that's the one he'd love to grind me on. Well, I was so lucky. That was a TSN turning point. I go, Cam, I had 5 frames already. Like, relax. So anyway, I shot 310. I was the first guy to shoot 1200, I think, on TV at that time. And when I went back the next year, I won my first game, and then I played Steve Cummings, and we had the 7-frame carryover.
Oh yeah, right.
And I've never felt any pressure like that ever before. The only time I felt that kind of pressure is like after I won 97 in the KG, I went back and played the Invitational for $1,000, and at that Invitational I went like 280, 330, $180. I sweat through a shirt in one game. Like, I'm a guy that changes shirts and such. Like I like to be cool all under, and I was feeling it so bad, but I came back and bowled really well. And it's the same thing in this match. Like, who's gonna blink first? And he just got ripped for a corner. Like I watched it later on TV. Like, he threw a great ball, and I got pretty lucky. But what I've learned is that the frames are a 2-frame slot, so you don't celebrate the right-hand lane, but you double celebrate the left. Because if I get too excited, I don't throw a good ball next. So when we won in 2016, second game, we're playing Alberta, and we're up 6. I'm bowling Schultz, anchor, both on spares, and he sends me. And I strike, and I start to celebrate, yeah. And before I'm even off the pit, he's throwing his strike, eh? You know how fast he is, eh? And I'm sitting there going,
it's my turn.
My God, I got to calm down and throw a good shot. So I threw another strike, and I came back like super low key. And actually, if you watch the highlight actually of my 10th frame against Titkit, I needed 2 strikes, right? So when I got the first strike, I just walked off the lane like, well, I had to get that. There's no point in getting excited yet. So, and then when I played the third game, I finally ran out of gas. But I ran 6 games in a row, win row there for the TSN. So it was pretty nice. And what's funny is that since I've been to Richmond Lanes before, I didn't even bother bringing my bowling balls. I got from the incident in '95 where I was waiting for my personal ball. I said, I don't want to face this stuff anymore. I'm just going to use their rack balls. And there's lots of situations where I've used rack balls since. And we started the 2004 singles and masters, and I went to put some balls on the rack, and George and Walter Heaney goes, whoa, you can't move balls. I go, we haven't started yet. Like, you can. I understand you can't move balls during play, but we haven't started yet. Well, no, I'll move them over. Yeah, like that. That's the technicality. Like, someone else can take them, but I can't. Like,
yeah.
Don't you have your own personal balls? Yeah, but some bowling alleys, especially if they're greasy, eh? You just want to use their greasy balls because they're uniformly greasy. If your ball is like pristine,
yeah,
and you get tracks of grease on it, and you're holding the grease, and you don't know where the grease is. So,
you know what? I 100% agree. I tried to do that in Red Deer a couple of years ago for provincials, and Tim and Weber were looking at me, and I could hear him chirping behind me like, "What the fuck is this guy doing? Why is he using those?" And they started to critique me back there throwing house balls, but the house balls work there. They work. It's the one thing that works, and they're all oily, and they all run straight, but they all actually break on the middle. And,
isn't that Stu Ryan's thing? He's like, hey, these
shoes.
House shoes.
Oh, but isn't there somebody that says, I'm going to throw, or is it still the shoe saying?
It's the shoes. The shoes now.
These shoes have thrown more strikes in this place than any other, anybody bringing their own shoes, their own ball somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. I was doing a little bit of digging around, Geoff, on the TSN and the CBCs, and I just saw the one where I think Shannis got hurt. Was that 2007? And then you got into the TSN and almost won it too. You played Barber, I think, in the semis, and that was just the match that I saw on there.
Yeah, I had a punchy match. And the thing is, what I'd learned from my TV was that I would tell the director let me know right before we're going to go bowling, and because I'm going to go to the bathroom. And what I would do is go to the bathroom, and I'd punch the shit out of it and get my pulse up, because you can't run cool unless you're already hot, eh? And I forgot to do it, so I was ice cold. I had no heat, and so I just couldn't get that inch of lift, you know.
Yeah.
That oh, I got a bunch of stories how I come short. I look back.
So that's
If
the
you golf with
adjustment.
me, I'll drive you crazy. Every shot that's bad, I'll tell you why.
So if you want more lift, beat the shit
Run
out of
hot.
something in the bathroom.
Well, to be cool, you have to have been hot.
Yeah.
You can't. If you're cold, you can't become cool.
Yeah.
What's
I mean,
cooler
it-
than-
I mean,
You guys need a treadmill. I think that at the tour finals or the TPC, we need a treadmill or something in the back just so people can do the warm up.
It's like
A Peloton bike, right?
it's like this too, and it's a golf thing. Like, if it's cold, you better put your mittens on the first tee, because if you decide finally to put them on the fourth tee, your hands are blocks of ice. They're not going to warm up anymore. So you got to keep your heat. So
I think Tim Hooper has something there. Psychology degree. Suddenly everything making sense. You kind of have a point there. I mean, we all kind of thought we knew Geoff Bourne, and now that with this psychology degree, we got a little bit of credibility behind this, Geoff.
Jeff
Well
just
done.
went to get one so he could figure himself out.
Anyways, you've had a pretty solid career again at TSN. Obviously, winning it the 1 year, almost making it next year. A lot of any other cash event tournaments that you want to touch on. Some of the high qualifiers, some of these events. I mean, have you played the full WCBT circuit? I don't think we've seen you here for a little bit, but
no, I've never been to Red Deer. I only went to Edmonton a couple of times. I went to Calgary a few times. I was actually intending to take my son to Calgary, because with a bad wing, it's probably the tournament I got the best chance of going deep in. But of course, things fell, and I hope we have tournament bowling again sometime. I mean, like you said, I got 24 Masters. I'd love to get that plaque for 25. I guess a couple of TSN turning points, are we had, when the computerized scoring first came on, we had the 369 tournament that was run at Niagara Lanes, and that was owned by the Turners, Dallas Turner and Gord Turner. And Niagara Lanes did not like me in the slightest. And Willie Orrin, legally blind, I was giving him a ride on the Saturday night. There was 3 shifts: Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. And I asked him how it was. He says, "I've never seen the bowling alley like this before. I've never seen a bowling alley like this before." And I went, "Really? Really?" And I had 3,000 for 9, and I had 356. So I shot 33.56, and I won scratch and handicap. So for $100, I won like $1,200. So that was a nice touch for the coffers. The first time the Strike It Rich ever showed up at Dakota with computerized scoring, my buddy Ron Amediation had missed a few weeks on Tuesday nights. He was on my team, and he won it. First time he saw it. And then it carried over for 2,900, and I won that for 2,900. So my first 400 was a 450. I had some good firsts, where I came through, like that gave me confidence that I was going to be able to do it again someday. So those are some good ones. What's another cash one?
where'd you throw the 450?
I threw it at Gary Lanes. I was 20, and it was a real high scoring house that year. There was 2 450s and 11 other 400s. I actually saw an old sheet. I was cleaning up my parents' house. My mom just passed, and I was 256 halfway through the season. I ended up at 264, so I averaged 272 the last half of the year. And it was my first match play league, and it was very exciting. And it was actually the beginning of me learning how to adjust, because it had illegally small green balls, which I used for my 450, but it also had some brand new giant Brunswick balls. So even back then, when I was 20, I was adjusting, because you could not throw the brown ball as hard as you could throw the green ball, right? So.
Yeah.
But back then, when I was really young, I came out of YBC. I had my backswing that I have now, and I took 4 steps from the approach, from the pit. So I threw really hard. And if I hadn't have fine-tuned it down, I don't think that I would have had the success I had. And that's one of the things we all do, is fine-tune your game, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. you talked about your bad wing. Is that in 2000 you had an injury, or is that more recent that you're not going long days into bowling, or how's that affected you? Talk about that if you don't mind.
It's just a thing that I've dealt with for a very long time. I mean, if I'm going to do push-ups, I have to do them on my fists. I can't pronate onto my hand like this. Like I can't roll my wrist up on top without it hurting, without even moving. It's bothered me a long time, and it's not something I ever told anybody. I'm not hiding behind that. But when I did have the 30 games at the Manitoba Open, I lost to Sandy in the final. Rob was laughing at me afterwards at the Anna Barbara would have people over afterwards at how just every ball was clank, clank, clank right in the foul line, but it was the same speed, and that's really what it's all about. It's roll, not lift and roll, it's roll. And so I didn't want to bet on myself because all the tournament bowling the money is end loaded. To get $450 back to make the cut, that just covers your flight these days. And I guess that's one of the issues when we talk about bowling that maybe you guys have to look at when you want to run your tour, is that your entry fees are the same now as they were in 1989. And the costs are way, way more. Like, we used to wait for a seat sale to go to Saskatoon, because we'd always be able to fly for $100 eventually. And hotel rooms were about, we'll say $100 then. So, if you made the cut on your first shift and won a match, you actually could cover. But with the costs the way are now, you need to make $1,000 just to cover your costs. So it becomes an exercise in covering. Like, a couple of years I went to a few money tournaments, and it went pretty well because, one tournament you'd win $2,500, and two tournaments you don't win, so you end up even. But the two tournaments you didn't win weren't necessarily very much fun. I wasn't hanging around with such fun people back then. I mean, as a total aside, I really owe Karen Armstrong and Rob Shannis a lot, because I don't know, you guys like the Blue Jays? Yeah. Baseball? Like, when Allrood came up, all the hitters wanted to talk to him. Brett, Mattingly, he had such a sweet swing, eh? And Shannis was like that. He knew everybody. So I hung out with Shannis. I became friends with Mortar and Gigluck and these guys through that. And then for hanging out with Karen, I met everybody. Like, she's a perfect liquor store employee. I mean, she's friendly to everybody. Yeah. And so I met tons of people through these people, and it made my tournaments much more fun to go to, because I had more people that I could just go talk to, right? So, generally speaking, my hand is still shot. I did go a few years ago to smaller diameter bowling balls, and it's not so bad. Like, my wife has a set of green balls that are like illegally small that I actually used in 2005 for my All-Star berth. So it's one of those things, if they put the ring around those things, maybe they weren't legal. But
I think people will be looking next time at Geoff Bort's bowling balls.
It's running jokes for me. I love to get the girls to touch my small balls. Feel how small? Touch my balls. Isn't that tiny?
Yeah. Okay, that's after dark.
Five minutes after dark.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the right time, but we're gonna transition to coaching and some of the side of things.
Well, I'll say this last about bowling equipment. I mean, I think diameter means more than surface in terms of ball booming differently. Like, if you want to have all your bowling balls be 3/8 and like 4 7/8. It doesn't matter what different surface you have. They're not going to move that much different. If you have a big set of balls and a little set of balls, they're going to move different.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
And give you different lift.
Yeah. You had said, sorry, I wanted to clarify about the tour and the events and looking at entry fees. Are you suggesting that we might have to look at increasing entry fees to, say, $250, so that there's more money?
More like $300.
Okay, so there's more money in the prize pool in order to cover. So not looking for a lot
more money for the proprietors to pay their staff. I mean, those things are running so late, and all the staff are working overtime, and like bowling alley employees don't get paid overtime, so they should get paid somehow. And I became sort of a favorite in Saskatoon because I tipped the hell out of the ladies behind the bar. I'd won money, so I spread my won money, and they just loved to help. They couldn't help me enough because I tipped. So
yeah, it's
for sure
interesting you say that, because I've played now for 20 years on events, and it's always been $200.
It was 180 to start.
Yeah.
And then it bumped to 200, and
yeah.
It's already the point. It's already the point where the people that are going are playing for the prestige. Like they're not so worried about the money, And I don't think a little more money wouldn't hurt in terms of like covering the lineage.
Well, I completely agree with you, especially when you're getting 250, 260 entries for 32 spots, right? Saskatoon was notorious for having over 200 entries, but that was for 48 spots. So increasing prize money or increasing entry fee probably wouldn't be so detrimental to the tournament as maybe some people think. I think if you're paying $200 and maybe you're two shifting it, it's very easily to say, well, I'll easily spend $300 if I'm going to make $600 if I make the cut, right? Like there's an easy way to correlate that prize money.
We might see a drop in entries. You might see it go from 260 entries to 220, or 210 or something like that. But that still more than covers it. That actually takes some stress off the people running the tournaments and keeps the prize money up further. That's not a bad idea at all.
Well, the thing is, when I came out of YBC, of course, in 1980, and pots were $1 a game. That was a lot of money, $1 a game. And now pots are still $1 a game. So it's not so much money back like for your leagues. And I just can't believe watching the young kids bowl, how much these kids that don't even really have full-time jobs or in school, how much they're betting each other. Like they're betting $10, $20 a game. Where are you getting this money? Like, is mom and dad giving this to you? What's your job? Like, because if you bet $10, you're actually betting 20, right? Win 10, lose 10. So I don't think you'd have to worry that much about it. And given actually the COVID landscape, you might be able to run tournaments at $500 and just have 100 entries, because.
Well, I mean, you've done the invitationals, or you've done those things. I mean, that's the avenue for the high rollers that are going to play the $1,000 or the $500 entry fees. But definitely worth a consideration. Obviously, the tour guys that going up to 250. Talk with the tournaments too. Does that affect? Obviously, yeah. Is there lineage right now at each individual tournament? I'm not sure what there is differently at each one. So agreements in place.
We can go into a little bit of specifics because we happen to know knowledge and it is public. Some of the CBT events do take a lineage, but it's covered by sponsorships. So like Regina Classic uses their sponsorship money to cover the lineage. So 100% prize money goes back out to the bowlers. I know Autumn Open has a small lineage fee. So does TPC. Red Deer has started a small lineage fee. And a lot of people don't see that lineage fee because there is sponsorships covering a lot of that. So I don't think it's very hard for us to increase entry fees when the prize money is going to correlate it. Especially when I know I've been playing on tour for, I don't know how long, let's say 15, 16 years. We used to fly to Regina for $75. Now you can't fly to Regina for under $300, right? So everything else is inflated except for the tour itself, and unfortunately it might be time to start increasing those fees to help support, like Geoff said. Some guys aren't going to fly out to make the cut just to double their money when they really need to cover their cost is the first step, right?
Well, obviously there's some financial guys on that board that can do some analytics on, with a $20 increase, this is how much we'll back. With a $50 increase, right? Maybe you send it out to the tour members to get their feedback first. But obviously centers supporting you, prize money's getting it, people covering their cost. If they can make top 32 or make the cut and double their money, I think the chance to do that, you wouldn't see the numbers go down greatly. But anyways, that's another topic, another conversation. Good stuff. Let's go to YBC and let's go to your coaching days, Geoff, about some of the coaching stuff that you've done, obviously giving back to the game too. YBC Nationals 5 times. Give us some recap there.
Well, I started coaching 93 at Windsor Lanes for when Norm still owned the lanes. And when my son started bowling, we were bowling at Windsor Lanes, and we would have stayed at Windsor Lanes if Norm owned the bowling alley. But once he let it go, I gave Ryan a choice whether to go to St. Patel Lanes, which was run by Dallas Turner right by my house, or Dakota, also equally close to my house. And he chose Dakota. He had more friends there. And the funny thing is, the core group of kids that we got our 2011 gold medal with, Dallas ran one shift of YBC Saturday mornings at 9, and Dakota's seniors YBC was Sunday afternoon at 1. So they bowled in both places. So I could have won the gold medal with those kids in either bowling alley. But I was happy to go to Dakota because this kid, this 15-year-old, Trevor Cook, had already thrown a 450. And there comes a point in who you're going to listen to as a coach. And I knew that he would probably listen to me because I got something to say. And I've heard from a couple of people that sometimes I have too much to say. What are you telling me to bowl for? What do you know? A lot. But by the way, you don't have to take my advice. But, I've had a couple of drinks and I'm going to give it to you anyway. So kind of thing. Wow. And I'm not doing it. And it's actually one of the things about our sport that's good is that we want everyone to be good. I'm not keeping the stuff I know a secret. It's, secret from the other provinces,
Yeah.
Back! But maybe not now. I'm just going to release everything I ever wrote. What the heck? So anyway, and this other kid, Shane Berry, and of course those two guys, like in 2018, Trevor averaged 281 and Shane averaged 267. So, and they got a gold medal. And they were in the same YBC team. Like, holy smokes, how lucky am I? But we managed that year when we won in 2011. We lost our last 2 games on the second day because it goes 6 games, 9 games, 6 games. And we lost our first game the next day. And I rolled the lineup over. I put Trevor lead off and put Shane anchor. And I told the guy that was lead off that it's not your fault. It's just we've lost 3 in a row. We have to make a change. It's nothing personal. And we won our last 5 games in a row to win. And when we broke for lunch, the guys are looking at the board and they're doing all sorts of math. And I'm going, hey, you know what we have to do? We have to win our first game after lunch, get away from the board. And that's what I give to you as a coach, because I'm going to go back to Norm Shannis here. He told me 2 things that I believe forever, and I'll tell you as a coach, is that the pins don't lie. If it's a corner, it's a corner. Any coach that says to their player that should have been a strike is not helping his player. You were talking nonsense. If it should have been a strike, it would have been a strike. It is what it is. Get your corner spare and make your money. And the other one is, then I've lived by this, and I'll tie this back to a money story. There's 2 times to look at the board to see what lane you're on and at the end of the tournament. Otherwise, it's a distraction. When I made the 2003 CBC show, one of the guys, Randy French, ran away. He had like 1900 for 6. So the rest of us are fighting for the last spot because it's everyone in the province for 2 spots. And in the 9th game, I had 93 in the 5th. But I got a nice save, made it 250, had the 161 finish. And the next game I go miss spare, cut off spare, 5-bagger, and guys are coming to shake my hand, and I don't want to believe them. What's going on? It turns out in the 9th game, of the top 10 guys on the board, my 256 was the highest game by 50. None of the other 8 guys shot over 210. So if I go look at the board, maybe I let down, maybe I relax, instead of thinking, oh my God, I just had 250, I got to get going. So I believe the board and all that math is a distraction because your mission is always the same. Throw it on the side. Get your spares. If you can get strikes, all the more power to you, but get a score. And that's one of the reasons I'm proud of running streaks of games over 200. If you want to stay, and dig in and stay with your one shot, yeah, you can go 360, 160, 360, 160. I'd rather shoot 4 260s kind of thing. It's easier on my soul, kind of thing. So if I got 110 in the 7th, I am moving. And it doesn't matter if I went 330, 348. If I got 74 in the 5th, I am moving. I don't care, because what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Time to make adjustment.
Yeah.
Like, you can beat your head against the wall. A stopped watch is right twice a day. So if you got one shot, you're going to have your big days.
Yep.
I've written down so many notes today.
Anyway, back to the coaching. So
yes.
I can help you. I can help anybody that follows the principles. You got to walk straight. Got to have your hand behind the ball. Got to have your elbow inside. And if you do those things, I can help you. But if you can't do those things, I can't help you. I mean, I can tell you a couple of things that maybe could help your mind deal with the game better, but the ball was never going to throw itself. Like, I had a bad nationals in singles in Calgary there in 2013, and Brian Rossetti asked me later, like, what happened? How come it was so bad? And I go, I just couldn't get the ball in the slot. Like, I just couldn't. It's like a golf swing. I just couldn't put the club at the top of this and let it swing itself. Like, we're trying to, for the money, it's like you're trying to stay out of your own way, right? You take your first step and you cross your fingers and you hope that the ball comes out of your hand on the upswing, because we don't actually throw it.
Yeah.
And that's what Dallas preached. She preached legs, 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 legs. So if your feet are underneath you, that gives you lift. And what happens when approaches are iffy, for me, if my second sets get short, I get tilted, and so my backswing gets too high, and then I can't get the ball in front of me. So it's a matter of letting the ball do the work, and that's what I say to myself in the approach. And here's a good tie-in. So in that shot you showed, and I got a copy too, Jim Llewellyn sent me, and the news clip, bedlam. Like, Dwayne Gilardi could not be yelling louder. If he had a megaphone, he couldn't yell louder. But that's why I talk to myself, because when I talk to myself, I hear myself. I don't hear any of that. And I started to talk to myself to fight the silence of bowling on TV, because it was too quiet and you can hear stuff there. So I talk to myself, and what I say to myself is, one time, let the ball do the work here. Come on, shooter. One time, like you can. Like, super generic stuff, just almost intoning like a mantra. One time, come on, let the ball do the work. Just to say it, make enough noise so I can't hear anything else that's going on around me. And that's something I would recommend for people to try to do to help them do better under big pressure, is give yourself that so what happens, because I do that when I play by myself in the summer and I'm talking to myself, I'm at the nationals in my mind, because for the money, you're always playing alone in the bowling alley at the end, right?
Yeah.
So by talking to myself, taking the visualization, taking some rests in between shots, when I bowl in the summer, I'm bowling at the nationals. I'm bowling on TV in my mind. So when you bowl by yourself, do the 2 frames, sit. Do the 2 frames, sit. If you're bowling really good, the guy that you're bowling, quote, he could be doing good too. You don't have to wait too long. But man, if you go head pin 8, head pin 9, go talk to the proprietor for 15 minutes. Then come back and bowl. Put some rest in your practice. I mean, that's why guys go to the range and don't become better at the driving range, because they don't step back. They don't visualize their shot. They don't choose an intermediate target. They just strike balls. So,
Yep. Or they don't actually pick a target to hit at. They're just hitting the ball and watching it fly. That's not good practice.
Exactly. I preach less shots, better shots.
I like, though, getting into a rhythm. Isn't there something to be said for that? Just to get that muscle memory and that automatic throw. Like, Dexter, you're a little bit like that. Like, you'd probably pick up a ball and just throw it 100 times rather than be the one to sit back, practice, relax. You'd probably want to train yourself to overdo it without even thinking about it, right? So a bit of 2 different trains of thought here.
I don't know. I still think the biggest thing is like the pre-shot routine, right? So as much as I get up there, once I get my ball and I go up onto the lanes, I go really quick. even when I'm practicing, I'm still doing the same things in the background that I would normally do up on the approach. And yeah, if I'm bowling games or whatever, I will take a break every 3 frames or something like that, just to, mimic that time period. Because I have to wait for people like Holdsworth or Gino or those guys, right? You learn that you have to build that into. So even when I'm practicing, I'll still try to mimic games as much as I can. Yeah.
Well, it drives me crazy to see people practice, go to the rack, throw, and then go to the rack and step sideways. Like every turn starts from the pit. So if you're not starting from the pit, you're not doing yourself any good at all, to my mind. So
get off the lane, do your little toe tap, rub, do this, shake it out, whatever you need to do to the pitcher, right?
Well, for me, I have to. Where you'd start the stopwatch for me is when I rub my sliding foot on the ground to make sure that I don't have any pebbles underneath there. Because you go up there and you set and you put your foot out and there's a rock underneath it. You got to start all over again. So I just try to make sure that is the case. And the other thing I would say is when do you take your deep breath? And the thing is, if you're taking your deep breath like this, it's not a deep breath. It went into your diaphragm. You got to go like this. You got to open up the airway to take your deep breath. And again, cleanse the soul, wipe yourself clean, shove your heart back down where it belongs, and then go. But I've seen so many people throw bad shots because they come back, my heart was in my throat. Well, you just didn't take your deep breath. So.
And to Lenny's comment there, repetition is your friend. The lane is open, go, go, go. I like to often do that practice because then I sort of feel like I'm working the fitness side of things. Whereas if I'm gabbing a ball, taking my time, hanging out, sitting down, I'm just not doing anything for my stamina. Whereas if I can get in there and I can throw 30 balls in 4 minutes and 25 of them are strikes, and I've gotten a workout out of it, and I'm like, okay, I got some muscle memory, and I had a workout, and my body feels good, and all that stuff, and I've got a lot of balls thrown. So I kind of like that practice a bit better. But if I was to be practicing for a match, I maybe wouldn't do it that way. I would do a little bit of different type of training. So I think it's a time and a place for what type of training you're doing, and practicing with purpose, like Kathy says. Today I'm focusing on my fitness. Today I'm focusing on my match play game. Does that make sense? Is there different types of training to practice?
The only thing I would be concerned about, Daryl, is if you're starting to throw that many balls that quickly, you don't want your mechanics to break down. And sometimes if you start going that fast, that long, you don't want to start practicing the wrong things because you're going fast. I think,
and that's the thing to be careful with, is to not start doing the wrong things. So maybe that's where I need a coach like you guys to watch and says, "Whoa, you might not realize this, but after ball 8, you started doing something completely different, right? Yeah. Even though you still fit, I was fit enough, and my body was fine throwing 30 in a row. Mechanically and physically, you did your shot was completely different at ball 8 than it was at ball 30. So,
I think something to take away from Geoff's experience and his obviously his accomplishments and stuff like that is it definitely, like Len says, it works for him and it's great, but it may not work for everybody. Obviously brains don't all work the same, so whatever works best for you. But to Daryl's point, when I was, I guess, like, let's say 10 years ago, I would do the same thing. I would go up there, I'd throw as many balls as I could, and you'd throw tons of strikes, and you'd play well in the qualifying shift and all that stuff. But nowadays, I don't know if that works so well for me. You lose a little bit, I think, and maybe that's an age thing. I don't know.
No, I play enough reps in order to get a good feeling. That's all I play enough for. And then maybe a little bit of adjustment on the approach, feeling how the approach is, feeling how the lanes are working. But I find throwing too many balls is just gonna ruin the rest of the day. I'm sort of like Geoff a little bit, where he's like, you throw too many balls, too many strikes in practice. I think I'm gonna waste them all. I'm super superstitious a little bit by that, but I find it's very important to find a good feel, a good rhythm, and then once I find that from my repetition, I'll probably stop in practice.
That's a perfect segue, because the first time that I start a tournament or my league, my first ball is the first time I threw it the head pin. I shoot right 3-2, left 3-2, right 3-2, left 3-2, because you have to throw strike balls at those. So I don't throw any strikes in practice. I throw strike balls in practice. So I use rack balls. I don't use my personal balls. I save my balls to see what's going to happen for real. I don't line up any of that stuff. I just line up my game, because you know what? You can't get a birdie on the driving range. You think you got a strike in practice? It wasn't a strike because you're not keeping score. You knocked down 5 pins, but it was not a strike because you're not keeping score. And so what happens, my edge now is I've shot more 3-2s than you 5 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. You 4 guys.
You've been so good with numbers all
add
day.
it up.
Yeah.
I've thrown more 3-2s than you guys added up. So that becomes my edge, is that I shoot, because you're trying to find your edge. They call a bowling alley a house for a reason, just like Vegas. It's got the edge, baby. What's your edge? My edge is leaving the least pins. I don't get the most strikes necessarily. But any year I've averaged 5 strikes, I average 270 because my spare percentage is so high, right? Like we had a year where Dakota got killed, and I averaged 278, and 2 guys averaged 270 on Tuesday nights. 2 guys averaged 276. 2 guys averaged 274 on Thursday nights. But none of those guys shot 80% corners, and they averaged that high. If one of them shot 80% corners, they would average 290. They threw so many strikes. So what's your edge? So my edge is shooting the 3-2s. And it's funny, in like the cycles of bowling, I sort of was slumping a bit 2006-ish, the year I missed the team, or missed the Masters team. And I didn't have a good Friday night, and I'm going to bowl Matt Taransky for $20, and I got a bad start. And I go down to like 15 and 16 at St. James, and I go, how come I drill my right 3-2 so good? Like, I drill my right 3-2 and I'm punching my headphones out. And I had a close look at it. Well, the arrow that shoots the 3-pin on the right, because I shoot up, I walk both lines. I throw my strike ball quarter to 3-2. But the arrow is on the left edge of the rubber for the 3-pin here. It's not like the head pin. The arrow is right on the middle of the head pin. So I move over those 2 boards in the approach. 8-bagger. I never was throwing up the slot ever until like after 2006. And it's been like I was reborn with this shot, because instead of sort of throwing across the head pin and needing it to ride back on the nose, now I'm like stuffing it right in its face, kind of thing. And it's been glorious. And that's only because I bowled a $20 game one Friday night that I even figured it out. Again, you need to have a tournament or some gambling on the line to motivate you to really figure something out. Like, what are you really going to learn in practice?
You need a little bit of desperation.
Yeah. Yeah, play for something.
You got to play for something. And in fact, I was on a bus to go to Masters had so much money circa 1990 that I was on a bus to go to up north, and Doug Wood would be singles, and we counted 3 out of 4 tournaments. He wouldn't even go to Thompson. He'd just make it on his 3 tournaments, wouldn't even use a throwaway tournament. But the guys he bet needed someone to bet, and I knew that Thompson liked me, so I decided to bet these guys. And this is how tough the place played. I won the 5-game block each of the 2 days, 13-10. So I won the tournament. I swept all these guys' money. And later on in the season, I had a game where I won 2-12 against 2 2-11s and a 2-10 against these guys. And I swept the bet. And that's when I realized pins are money. They don't represent money. They are money. I mean, if you take $25 to bowl, 3 games, 150 pins, it's each of them represents whatever, 10 cents a pin. But when you're playing late on Sunday afternoon, every one of those pins is worth $5, baby. So
here's a stat, Carrie, maybe someday down the road, would be the amount of wood that top qualifiers leave in a qualifying shift, right? Geoff harps on the pick your wood, second, third shots, right? 3-2. Yeah. How much wood is left for the top qualifiers from the last? I don't know if you can go through every game and each line item of that, but it's a lot of work. But
well, if we're touching on coaching, and I'll go back to it because I've been rambling on. But
no, you're good.
If I was going to give you guys some advice for your own personal games and practices, is when you're playing by yourself, practicing, and you punch a head pin, take your medicine, shoot your 5, don't press the button. When you miss the head pin in practice, don't get a re-rack to throw another strike because the head pin is still there. Shoot the spare. What I'm saying?
Yeah, when you're warming up, don't just keep it.
Stop going to the button.
I want to throw strikes. Yeah.
What if you play at a center that automatically re-racks a whole set?
Well, after one ball?
Yep.
In warm-up? Really?
Yeah.
Heritage does too.
Cubica centers can do it. Deltronic centers can set it up that way too.
Well, then you can still take your medicine. You can throw whatever you like.
Oh man, I love it.
In fact, one of the coaching games I use with my kids is the format where everyone plays alternate frames, like
Scotch doubles.
Well, the leadoff guy gets 1, 5, 9, that kind of thing. So you have a team game, and our team that won or got a silver in 2009, they had front 9 in one of those formats. And that year when we got the bronze in the silver in 2009, we were 10-4. And but the last game we played the second day was Saskatchewan, and they beat us. And then the Saskatchewan went 7-0 the next day to get us for the gold. So that was Taylor McCaw was on that team. They had a really strong team. And when we got our silver in 2016, my son Ryan was on the team. And it was the same sort of thing. We were doing all right, but then we had the 2 losses to finish the day, and the next day we had a loss. And so I put Ryan lead off. My son, he went 310, 310, 358, and then 310. It was just awesome. And Saskatchewan was all over us in that last game. We had to win. And Ryan struck 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And their anchor bowler and their 3-hole bowler both punched 9 and 10. So when Sam Gilardi went up, he needed a mark to win, and he got the strike. And then Northern Ontario stole a game off Quebec. Quebec let it get away. We ended up in a 3-way tie-off for the silver, or playoff for the silver. And that's the only time ever in YBC I did all the chanting, all the singing, because the girls were finished and they came over and we had a bunch of fans and we're doing all the chants like this. And, it was a lot of fun to make that much noise. The roof is on fire. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm getting pumped up just listening to you now.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun for sure. And
yeah.
Well, on that note, I mean, how is youth bowling in Winnipeg, Manitoba? Obviously, you mentioned the Gilardis a couple of times. As a whole, how do you see it? Obviously some good shooters, some people they're playing. Where are we at?
Yeah, there's some good shooters, but ultimately it seems like the only bowlers that are coming up are descendants of existing bowlers. There doesn't seem to be the influx of youth that are just coming in to try bowling. I know that the last year I coached YBC, it was down like 30%. There was a time where we needed to bowl seniors on Sunday afternoon because there were so many people bowling Saturday morning, and now we can all bowl. Then they made Saturday morning 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, but now it's all 9 o'clock, everybody. So it's just dwindling.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. And then with this, where are they going to go bowl? There's not going to be a neighborhood bowling alley necessarily. It's just frightening. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Making me shiver.
Yeah. But there's some good shooters, like you said, the Gilardis, and there's still there's still tons of veterans out there too. I know that still have the fire and want to play. Scotty, of course, talk to him often, and great competitive side in Manitoba that lot still offered.
I a couple of years ago, and the first year that the pandemic hit, we made it to March, and I had 6th choice, so I was 3rd high average in the league. And nobody took Derek Orn yet. So I got Derek Orn on my team. So
there's another one.
By the time, he played great. When we broke in March, he was 266. I was 256. This 2-hole guy on our team was 246, and he was 6th high average in the league. So we were killing people. We had a 1,002 team average. We were killing people, and then of course we didn't get to finish the season, so we didn't see how things fell out, but he was playing awesome. But he's not a guy that I could coach very much. He didn't really see my game, my point of view, and he learned, to his credit, to to sort of hang out away from me. He didn't want to hear my nonsense, so that's fine. And he's got his own perspective on it. I mean, he doesn't really what you have a conventional style. That's for sure. Like if I'm talking about the idea of being square and walking straight, I mean, he starts like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the hardest throwing lefties I've ever seen, that's for sure.
Well, and there's the funny thing because my son Ryan's also a lefty, and he also gives it a mighty rip. And I'm just so sad for Ryan more than anything else. I mean, he, as far as I know, Norm Shannis and Rob Shannis are the only father-son or mother-daughter combination that both won Canadian singles championships. So I was betting on Ryan. Come on, Ryan, go Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, he when he was 6, he already knew. What's DFS? Dead fucking straight. You want to be good, you walk straight. You want to be very good, you walk dead straight. You want to be great, you better walk dead fucking straight. DFS.
I like it. More notes. More
No, I
notes.
can't write this shit down.
Well, he was a baseball pitcher.
Yeah, I'm gonna publicize this document here.
He was a good baseball pitcher too, and he understood when I would say like you're throwing too hard, because when you're throwing your fastest, it's when your timing is right, not when you're throwing your hardest. So you gotta let the ball do the work, right? And that's one of my parallels thing. When I'm talking about coaching, I'm gonna now segue into my alternate sport thing. In baseball, a pitcher gets 1 1/3 inning for one reason: the hanging breaking ball. And in bowling, that is called a head pin. So you're better off to underthrow the ball than overthrow the ball. Because when you underthrow your slider, bouncing in the dirt, and the guy's waving at it because the ball's doing something for you. So
Yeah. You're saying how it correlates against other sports and stuff like that. There's a couple sports out there where smooth is fast, fast is smooth, right? So if you can make sure everything's timed up properly and you're smooth, it's just as fast as if you try to reef it and throw it hard as you can. It's all the same, right?
Well, I taped a little thing on Golf Channel, which I'm going to keep forever, just before the Masters, and it was golf lessons from Masters champions. And the first one was Nicholas, talking about how when he needed to reach back for that extra yardage on this drive, he'd swing slower, not faster. You just make sure you finish your backswing and make that arc as big as you can, not swing harder.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Well, Geoff, you are definitely the longest podcast for sure. I know there's more stuff we want to hit on. I just wanted to clarify that you made it.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
I haven't even talked. I think you're going to have me back.
Yeah, we want to have you. We'll mark you down.
Yeah.
We'll get you
Let's
back.
let's go to get these.
I haven't dropped as many names as I want to drop at all.
Let's do this though. Let's chat about some of these cool accolades, and then we'll do some more freestyling. Geoff is a lifetime member of the Manitoba Masters Association, awarded with the National Masters Association Award of Excellence in 2014. And then C5 named one of the top 100 bowlers from C5 in 2009. You know, pretty cool accomplishments to be able to, have those tied to your name. How do those make you feel?
Well, when they were going to do that list, I wasn't playing C5, so I didn't see the list, and I didn't even know it existed till I had our first practice for the Masters. And Rob was trying to come up with the names of the guys in the list, and he didn't say me, and I thought, I guess I'm not on the list. But then I found out I was on the list. And I was very excited, and I went off to the Masters Nationals, promptly threw a $180 in my second game, bleeding all over. I'm going, my God, am I cursed by this? But our last game against Quebec, I had like 135 in the 8th, and I said, I'm going to the smallest ball, and I'm going to the right, and I got 4 strikes for us to win in the end. And I ended up averaging 265. And I'd like to think that my success since that time has proven that maybe it wasn't a bad idea to put me on the list. But as I said before, like Keith Barber was voted the greatest Western Canadian bowler of all time. He could be on the list. It seems like they missed like the 70s decade for bowlers. The guys I grew up with, I mean, They were good with getting the old timers, and the only new guy really that was on the list was Matt Schultz, was the youngest guy I think that's on the list. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think the tough thing, obviously, the time it came out was 2009. So you have the people 20-year window likely that were doing a lot of the voting, right? And those 20-year window definitely know about the old timers, right? The original greats, but they maybe didn't know about those 70s, early 80s, like you said.
Yeah.
Right, they did probably get missed in many provinces. Right, there's probably another 50 people you could easily put on that list. Right,
Well,
you could do another
how many-
list in another 10 years and do it, and then
how many Ontario guys and Alberta guys can you put on a list, right? So,
Right.
there was the hotbeds of bowling. I sort of got lucky to be put on the excellence for Masters Nationals, I thought, because we were hosting in 2014, and there was a little bit of press we're going to be doing locally, so I had to send my resume to Jim, and I sent it to you guys too, and you guys went, wow, that's a pretty good resume. And Jim sort of saw the same thing too and went, and with the volunteerism, like I quit the Masters board only this year due to the fact that there was no Masters. I mean, it's tragic. It breaks my heart, but I did over 20 years in there, and I was sort of a babysitter president the one year I was president. I was good at running a meeting, but not really the guy that should be president necessarily. And that's wherever a past president comes in. I probably should have stayed as past president to help run the meetings, because that's an art form too, eh? And there's a little story I'm going to throw in, freestyling. So in '98 when we went to the Nationals, to KG, I should say, we go to the Calcutta. Jim and myself, Cam Boone, Doug Wood have decided we're going to bid on the first wild card. We'll see what happens. And the Calcutta guy was making a point. He says, we're not going to be here for 10 hours. And we got the first Calcutta for like $350. It was ridiculous. Like, he was saying, you bid fast or you're not getting it. So who do you take? Oh, let's take Mortar. He wins both sides. So I sort of won 2 years in a row.
wow, for 350 too to get Mortar. That's I never heard that one.
It was pretty sweet, and it's funny because Tracy Anstis was there as her baby, and it's the finals around the middle of the house, 13 and 14, and I'm way back in the corner, in behind like 21 and 22, and Tracy's like breastfeeding her baby, and I'm sort of standing here, and as Mortar's doing his pre-shot routine, I'm doing it too. Like I'm trying to help him. Trying to help Bruce.
Yeah.
Okay, come on. There was one point where he wasn't throwing very well, because we were watching him. So I dragged Cam Boone back into the boiler room by the counter, so he could have no influence on the bowling at all. Like, stop watching. We're affecting it with our watching. So yeah, superstitious stuff again.
Yeah.
But actually, it's funny.
How did we get on this conversation? I thought we were talking about awards of excellence and C5 top list, and all of a sudden you freestyle.
I freestyled again. Okay, so anyway, so the Manitoba Life membership, I felt that was more fair because, again, all the volunteer work that I did as well. Like I wore a lot of different hats, and my favorite job actually was secretary, because I'm old enough that I was secretary when you had to mail stuff out. So you had to go home and do the minutes right away. And when I was a secretary, you got the minutes within a week. So you could remember what happened. But a lot of secretaries we have would send it out to you like the day before the next meeting. Like 28 days later, like, oh, look, there was some work I was supposed to do I forgot about, actions. But I was tournament director a lot too. And I was lucky. Sometimes counting the money was good luck. It would distract me from the bowling because I'd have to do something else, because that was what really was nerve-wracking, because you got 52 people, all their entry fees, all their pot money, did it balance, stacks of 20s everywhere. You sort of pretend it's yours for a while. Oh, look at all my money.
Yeah. But you're right, it keeps you busy, but until the point that it becomes annoying, and I've done this for 5 years and I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, it's your turn now.
Well, yeah, exactly. And
Yep.
But
I totally get it, Geoff. I mean, we do it all the time with, running the center, or me running master tournaments, or Tim running E5 tournaments and whatnot. but especially during like cash tournaments or anything that's happening during the center, it doesn't bother me at all to have to go to work or go run a tango or fix a machine while bowling at all, because ultimately it almost makes me better, and I actually build in distractions into my game. I'm a very chatty person when I'm on the lanes, and I'm always back talking to somebody, and I'm trying to be distracted as much as I can. I'll focus when I'm up on the lanes, I'll analyze everything after my shots and figure out what I did wrong or what I did right on that shot. But when I'm back at the very back of the lanes, I'm chatting with somebody, I'm somewhere else until I get back up on the lanes and then refocus and go. But having those distractions I don't think is a bad thing at all. If your head is into bowling for 100% of the time for 12 hours straight, it's going to be really hard to focus when you need to. Just energy wise.
Like keeping yourself busy after you get off the lane too. Yeah, I like doing the same thing. Go for a walk, doing something different, right? You don't have to just sit there ready to go on the shot. So,
well, that's the toughest thing when we did bowl this year. It's no longer two teams on a pair of lanes having a match. You're on your own separate pair of lanes. You're on a stopwatch. You got to get out so they can have the place empty for 15 minutes to sanitize, and you can't go to the bar and have a drink and talk to somebody, and they got to bring you your drink. And I felt sort of like I was trapped in the pit in the new world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby Kite makes this comment, and I know he's saying this as a joke. Dexter analyzing 2.2 seconds. You're not wrong, but also I believe the sweet spot for like analyzing is like 5 seconds max. After that, you start losing that feel and that and what happened throughout your approach. So that analyzing of your shot happens really quickly. You can't try to figure it out 2 minutes later. It happens instantly and then it's gone.
Yeah, let it go.
Well, that becomes the embarrassing point when you might have had a beverage too many, and you did figure it out when you stepped off the lane, but now you're stepping back on the lane, you're going, wait a second. What was I supposed to do?
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes
At that point,
having
you're just freewheeling.
a beverage is better because you get relaxed. I always find that way better. Jeff can agree, probably.
Well, I had a. Well, that's the blue show. We won't.
Yeah, it's a blue show. I'll tell you what.
But that was part of your game, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, when I bowled in leagues, I habitually drank so that I wore shorts in leagues, but when I bowled tournaments, I always wore pants in case I wanted to knee slide, and I wouldn't drink until I needed it as an adjustment. But if I didn't have a drink the whole tournament, I had a high score. You can always drink later, right? Kind of thing.
Yep.
But I remember one time at the Manitoba Open, going into starting game 8, not so good, and I'm going, how can I get a drink right away? Oh, there's Eddie Johns. Eddie, I'll buy you a drink if you get me a drink. He's elbow smashing guys, moving them out of the way like Geoff needs a drink right now, kind of thing. So I chose the right guy.
Yeah.
And then I sent him right back to get another one because the first one was going to disappear fast. So
Yeah. Get it in there and loosen things up, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
well, again, I got blue story.
Yeah. Geoff, let's freestyle away. What about you said you want to chat about a few people or some of the mentors maybe you had throughout the way,
Well,
or some good stories? Go for it.
I was always, from the day I rode in a car with Doug Wood, and no one was keener than Doug Wood, and he wanted it bad. But he said the best bowler he ever saw was Bruce Mortar. So first time I really saw him was I didn't really see him in the junior winter games because, again, he was on a different floor, right? So 84, when I went to Calgary for the first time, when I made the final 16, I got to bowl him. I had a 350, of course, because, I was bowling the king of bowling. And a couple of games later, I had 350 for 2 games. You know how it goes. That tournament is fast. Not much time to think there. But circa 1990, 1989, I got a 255 league average. Why can't I bring it in tournaments? What's going on? What am I doing? What can I steal? And Doug Whalen, a guy from the north, he would really swing his back foot up hard every shot, kick himself in the butt, to really get his weight across. And Mortar, all his weight on his front foot. And I decided, I'm going to commit to my front foot. I'm going to stop dragging my back foot like an anchor, and I'm going to get across. And it was a TSN turning point. I did it from stealing. And it's something I've said to other bowlers since, like Chad Van Dale, same thing. He was really a guy that used to drag his foot. And his back foot is off the ground now for a little while, just to get his weight in front, eh? Because the thing is, if your front, for me, I'm a lunger. Like myself, Tracy Smith, lungers, right? Really deep in the end. So the ball doesn't have to have so much lift on it. Like when your weight's back behind your knee, you need more lift to get it out in front. Like when you're really bent over, then the ball can come out in front. I mean, Bruce was not a guy that threw a bunch of lift. And, it took only a couple of years ago for me to watch and see why he was the greatest ever, because whatever he had to do, the fist was always right here. He could be spinning left, right, center, like anywhere, but his fist was always right on the head pin, right?
Yeah.
It was one of the most amazing things. So I stole that. I stole from watching, and that's something that Doug Wood told me. He said, you got to look at guys that have your ball speed. And the thing is, when I had my next big slump, circa 1999, after I won the TSN, or after I won the TSN. No, before I won the TSN, that's when I developed my pre-shot routine I have now, because I was playing with that position on my hand too much. Where's my thumb? Where's this? How's my wrist? So I developed this pre-shot routine because by dropping the ball the way I drop it, I have a uniform grip strength and I have a wrist neutral position, and it's always the same. So I take that kind of thinking, because I Lloyd Weens used to start like this with his hand on top of the ball, and I tried everything. One hand, I tried 9,000 different things across my years to steal. So it took a long time for me to come up with this, but this one was good because effectively what I developed was a waggle. I got a waggle in my bowling game, right? So I rehearsed my swing a couple of times and then just have to go back down the same path to let the ball naturally swing on. So
the Sergio Garcia.
Not 17. I remember when he was young.
The Mike Weir.
I was laughing today because a buddy of mine sent me an Instagram post of a guy. He's a golf teacher, and he's talking about in his Mexican voice. Hey, we're talking about the waggle, and it was all about the waggle. So yeah, perfect.
Mike Weir should get a copyright for that because he was the first guy to have the big waggle. You know, the real like pre. Now there's 25 guys that have that waggle, and if you want to, and who's got a crazier one than Justin Rose? I mean, Billy Horschel's got a crazy pre-shot routine now too. Like,
yeah,
I can't stand Kevin Na. Like I can flip a channel and come back to him, and he'll still be hitting. So
yeah, but he gets after his putts.
His putts, yeah. Tiger's really good at that.
Have you seen yourself when you start going deep into tournaments, Tim?
Oh, Jesus, it's a nightmare.
You'll stand up there for 15 minutes and shake your legs.
Yes.
How about Gino about 10 years ago? He'd lean back and he'd sort of shake his leg a bit.
Yeah.
I couldn't
With
imagine.
love, Gino.
He'd jump it out. He would jump it out. Yeah.
And
What are
imagine
you
before
doing?
boxers. Imagine before boxers came out how that was, right?
It's like,
Yeah.
I did want to ask though, Geoff. I mean, you did have some animation on the lanes, and you would take a little bit of time. Did you ever feel that worked to your advantage when you were playing opponents? And did you intentionally use that to your advantage, or was that more, no, I'm doing Geoff, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm playing my game? Do you know what I'm asking there?
I do understand, and no, I never played the game outside the game. It was always for me. Again, like I said before, when I'm doing my 2 turns in a match play, there's no reaction on the right-hand lane, double reaction on the left. So, but I've run out shots for my whole life. That's why I'm fun to be on your team, because like by the time the pit balls are in the pit, I'm already slapping your hands because I'm coming off the lane at 100 miles an hour. You better catch me, kind of thing. So, yeah. And I guess that's one thing I learned too, and is that. And sort of from going to Tom Patterson's bowling school, I went 6 times, and he preached like the finish position, but I went with the Greg Norman, Seve Ballesteros reflex. up and down. And I've been watching Jack Nicklaus highlights. Same thing for Jack, up and down. Like none of this holding your finish position. That's not for me. I throw too hard. I go up and down. In fact, I took it to the fact where I bisect the lane, meaning like sometimes I'd sing Queen's song Bicycle Race in my head because I want to
Yeah, we're getting into it now. I love it.
up and back. I go forward and back on the same line. Like I don't turn around and come back to the pit facing you. I come back backwards because I want to make sure I never step to the right. Never, never, never. Because that's death. That's losing all your roll. Is to go like this. You have no lift. You have no lift. It's false lift. So if you can, I finish like this sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll fall to the left. That's fine, but I will not fall to the right.
I never really thought about that. Which way? Which?
For our audio listeners, Geoff just did a full approach and then went slow-mo straight back and then did another full approach and fell off to the left. That's what happened while you guys weren't watching.
But which way do you follow? When you fall,
I
are
fall
you
to the right.
always to the right?
Yeah.
Well, you're not ever going to do that again, now, are you?
I also hang to the right, so I mean it's
No, you don't.
Okay, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Everyone hangs to the left.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to. I'll do that next time when I'm playing. And where are you losing your balance to? I don't think I've really thought about that as deeply, right?
Well, it's false. It's false lift if you are moving while the ball's coming out of your hand. So if you're not solid for that second, then if your shoulder's moving, your hand's moving, you don't have the leverage. Like it's a punching thing. Same thing. You got to make sure that you're solid in your feet to deliver a punch. If you're moving while you're punching, you don't have any power in your punch.
That's a
Or
really
cross-boarding.
good analogy.
Yeah.
That's an excellent analogy.
Well, again, here's another one for the ball in play sort of thing. Volleyball. Dig, set, spike, right? But what if you hit it in the net? Well, that's called a headpin. What if you hit it out of bounds? Well, that's called a headpin. That third ball's got to be in play because people get caught up trying to throw 3 strikes. No, throw it on the side. Throw it on the side. Nothing wrong with a corner on your strikes.
Yeah. I like it.
Well, especially in money tournaments. Like, what's the most pressure you face when you go in a money tournament? The first time you have a double. You flew there, you went to the hotel, you had a meal, you checked in, you spent $375 when you got there. First double, oh, punch. Second double, miss open. What happens in your third double? You got to change your shirt. You're sweating so hard.
Yeah,
like, oh my God, come on, I've got to do something here.
You're trying to get the triple, right? Give me my first triple.
Trying to get the triple. Just get. See, bowling is about 3 in a row, but it's 3 marks in a row. It's not 3 strikes in a row. 2 marks in a row opens about 210. 3 marks in a row opens about 230. You get 4 marks in a row and open. That's when you get into 250s. But if there's strikes, of course, your score is a little bit higher. But one of my favorite starts makes me laugh my ass off is miss spare, strike, miss spare. 1 hit, 80 in the third. That's how bowling is a game. It's not about. If you've thrown 1 ball and you got a 5 count, what's your success? It's the miss, because the other 5 count is that.
He posted an L on his forehead for our audio listeners.
Any other shout outs you want to chat about?
Well, Karen Armstrong, of course. She bought my shtick. She bought the shooting 3-2s in practice. She believed in me enough to let me coach her at the Nationals for the Masters a few times. Lots of provincial titles. And of course, became very good friends. It's actually one of the secrets. If you want to become very good friends with a woman, choose a woman whose name is the same as your wife's, so then you're not in trouble. So if you're married to her, for the women out there, if your name's Giselle, you got to make sure your husband's not friends with anyone named Giselle. The one year, actually, Karen did miss the team in 2005 when my wife snuck her out for the mixed team. Holly Tchaikovsky asked me to coach her in the provincials finals, and I helped her win the singles title in Thompson against Sandy Anderson. I got to coach Shannis when he won in 2006. A good moment in that was he had a strike, and then he punched a 3-pin, he came back, and I said, "Are you singing to yourself?" "Oh, no, sing to yourself." He sings to himself. And that's something I actually tell people too. If you're struggling, sing to yourself, because that's going to put some rhythm in your soul, whether you like it or not, right? And help you relax. And then he threw a couple of good shots, and as he's walking back, Walter Heaney starts talking to him. So he stops talking to Walter Heaney, and now he's Rob's bowling Geoff Stevens, right, from Ontario.
Yeah.
Rob's walking back. I go, "Do you think Walter's cheering for you? Don't talk to him anymore," kind of thing. Well, and that's something else, another one of my psychology things. If I'm coaching on my team, I don't want to see you slapping hands with the opponents. Like if we're bowling at you guys, you could be the 4 guys in the Alberta team. I'll say good shot. But that's as far as I'll go. Because, again, if I'm a baseball pitcher and you hit one 450 feet off me, you think I'm giving you a high five at home plate? I don't think so. "Oh, nice dunk. High five." No. We're friends before, we're friends after. When we're playing, we're not friends. So, sorry if that's a little mean, but
No, that's completely fair.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to say that on here. Don't worry.
oh, okay.
Don't worry. But yeah, you're right about the singing thing too. I mean, Bruce was notorious for it. Bruce did it his entire career. Made sure he had a song in his head and stayed with that rhythm. Tim tries to get the slowest song he could possibly think of.
Yeah, I've had the Journey song before in there. We've even Sean Smith, and even our 2003 I think Open team at provincials. Sean Smith played a song for me and Johnny on the way to in the morning, and it was Eddie Rabbit or something like that. It was just this crazy song, and we would pump it up and sing it, and that was our song for the weekend, right?
Yep.
And when you're bowling, you had a song in your head, and you kind of just the rhythm and get something going, and you tune everything else out except for yourself and the song, right?
Well, when we won in 2007, Shannis came straight from Vegas, and he was saying at the last night at the piano bar, somebody paid $150 for one song, but then somebody else paid $200 for "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. So that was our song.
Of course.
A song I use a lot when I'm on teams, because I stand in the back of the pit, I'm not taking the high fives anymore. I'm more relaxed. But I got some Bob Marley. "Don't worry about the thing, every little thing, gonna be all right." Just to make you smooth, just to calm you down.
Mm-hmm.
What were you singing in the Winnipeg airport there?
I did "Leave On" by Elton John. It's one of my favorite songs. I unfortunately couldn't take it all the way home, but the first verse was pretty good. I missed the chorus.
It was good, yeah.
Yeah.
Until we all had to go home. I remember.
Well, and what's funny is that we got the bronze and you got the silver, and we got no sleep. The team that got to drive there, Ontario, they won because they had gas in the tank. Because for me, I didn't sleep good the night before, and then I had to drive my kid the next day, and we had to be at the airport at 4, so I didn't sleep that night. So I'm way behind on my sleep bank by the time we get to bowling, and then the conditions are about as difficult as it could be. And, it was a very challenging event for sure.
Yeah.
And then my wife came, which is fine. I love her and all, but what are you doing here? "Oh yeah, my son made it." "Yeah, that's why you don't want to try it further." But I mean, for here at home, we had a king side bed when we got married, but we'd wake each other up by moving around. So what we have now is 2 twins pushed together. So you can move around as much as you want. It doesn't bother the other person. But there we had a king size bed. So I was waking her up. She was waking me up. So I was very bagged by the end of that event. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful facility for the banquet, like in that casino. Wasn't it just awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't very enthusiastic, Tim.
Yeah. He was in a bad mood.
I think Jeff and I
It
had
still
some
is.
beer. If Jeff and I were drinking beers outside, I think I missed some of the banquet.
I gave Tim a good pep talk, actually.
You did. Honestly, and I say it today, honestly, Jeff, it meant the world to me. So
it's nice of you to stay.
Yeah.
Geoff, we've asked this before. What was your favorite place to go for a national championship across the country?
Well, I guess I got to say Sherwood Lanes. I went there for my first Masters Nationals. I went there for my first C5 Nationals. I coached my kid there first time in 2014. It was an unbelievable facility. Like when we were there with the youth challenge, they had the kitchen open downstairs, and they could feed you. And when we were there in '86, they still had pool tables downstairs. What a neat facility! 48 lanes, but it was like 4 sets of 12 lanes that were all different. It's the same building, and it's like 4 different sets of bowling alleys. It was unbelievable. And then when in 2008 and in 2015, when we stayed in that same hotel, real nice hotel, free happy hour for everybody between 5 and 6, just if you're a guest in the hotel. Nice rooms. So that's got to be one of my favorites. But I actually came back to Masters in 2001 specifically because the Nationals were at KG, and I just could not pass up that opportunity. And again, we had another crazy field there. Bobby Herman, Lynn Howell, Tom Patterson, myself, Jeff Stevens, Bobby Osborne, Bruno Cecere. Like, it was just top notch. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Surprising you didn't say somewhere like Newfoundland, or that's been a big favorite.
Yeah. But the thing is, when you go to a Nationals, all you really see is bowling alleys and bars. So, George Street is nice, but I don't know that it's as nice as everyone says, kind of thing. So, but I must say, actually, that the hotel we stayed in there was awesome. I was lucky enough to be on the club floor the last time, and so I ended up 4th in singles. I had to beat Schultz last game, and he decided to throw an 8-bagger at me, so that didn't happen. So I stayed up, and I saw the sun in the club room through this big window coming up through the bay. So I'm going to give you the Newfoundland point there. Good call.
Yeah. For 1,000.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I've been across the country. I've put my foot in both oceans from bowling. It owes me nothing. I'm a blessed guy.
Yeah. I think that's what's cool. I was telling some other people today that, you're into 5-pin bowling? He says, yeah, that's how I know people across the country. It's junior hockey or it's 5-pin bowling alleys, right? You start playing the game. Oh, you always throw out the 5-pin bowling to see if somebody bites, right?
Yeah.
Right? You get excited if they know somebody from bowling. Yeah. It's cool.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, when people mock me, I used to take offense and try to defend it, but I just let it go, and it's if they're not going to understand, so why bother?
No, we all know exactly what we have gained from this game, which is why we're all here trying to do this thing.
Exactly, documenting it. Bucket list, Geoff. What's left? I mean, obviously, Masters to get your 25th, but what else would you like to accomplish left to do?
Well, I guess it's watch my kid win a singles title and be his coach for it, I guess, would be about it. But I honestly don't know what else I could accomplish. I mean, I suppose if we went to Calgary again, maybe to win Calgary, I suppose. I don't know that I could play up this. See, it's the funny thing. Like when I won Saskatoon, I played 36 games. I played 30 games when I lost in the final to Sandy Anderson, and that becomes prohibitive, But when you win your first match, you can't throw your second match, so you're only alive on one side. Like, you got to bowl as well as you can. So, my biggest fear is that my edge was my practice. I mean, except for breaking a bone on my wrist because I side throw Bob stepped on a rake. I threw like for 25 straight years all summer. So I won the first tournament of the year of Masters 8 or 10 times because it was first weekend in September, but for me I was ready to go, and other people are still finding their game because they took the summer off, right? So, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to that level again. You just can't. Mm-hmm. It's sort of heartbreaking.
It'll be interesting to see this year, once bowling centers are open, how many guys go out and practice, right? We haven't played for a long year. You got the tour coming up this year. You're going to want to start playing right away. Hopefully all the events are happening. Are guys going to come and practice this summer? more than they do normally? I hope they do, right?
I honestly don't think so. I think once leagues get started, I think you'll see more practice then. Right?
Well, then it's an advantage to those that are practicing, right?
Dex and I should be practicing all the time.
Yeah.
We don't. Yeah.
Well, I know Chad Van Dale, the proprietor of Dakota, has been playing 18, 21 games a week, and he's never played better in his life right now, and he just laughs because there's no place to use it. You know.
But it will. Soon enough,
Yeah,
right?
it will
Soon
pay
enough.
off.
In September, it will. League will get started. Tournaments will start happening. Come play the tour, right? Maybe, Geoff, you need to come out to Edmonton for one of the TPC events and see the 5-pin you guys.
Well, I can't promise anything. If there's one thing, I don't promise anybody anything ever. I never promise my kids anything. That's a word I don't use because it's a word that just gets you in trouble. You know.
Yeah, very fair.
Yeah.
What about the Manitoba Open?
Well, if that existed, I would play, of course. I mean, they had some interesting format scheduled that involved the top 20 going on till Sunday and then extra games to choose the other 12. And I don't know that if the format they proposed, if I wasn't in the top 20, I would play the rest of the games to be in the next 12. But I would always support the local tournament.
Yeah.
Always. Because, again, I don't have the travel costs. And I can always put my arm in a sling if it's that bad. I have before.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Well, we are going to hit that 3-hour mark. I think we should maybe wrap this up. Geoff,
job.
this was amazing. As everybody called it, you were definitely the longest podcast, and you fulfilled everybody's predictions. But obviously, as this podcast goes on, hopefully for a lot longer, we'll definitely have you on again and fill our brains with more information, as DB needs another sheet of paper. For sure.
I'll send you guys some stuff that I have.
Okay.
That's
You
awesome.
guys can see, because I've kept stats for my leagues for a long time, so maybe find some tasty stuff for you guys to look at.
I think what's the coolest is to dissecting the different types of stats or different, people in here. What are they doing for their game, right? And obviously, it's been a great honor to chat with you here today, Geoff, to get a page of notes. I mean, a lot of cool stuff here, and obviously a great resume that you've had. So good on you. Thanks for doing this, and
Thank you for having me. I
we
appreciate
look
it.
forward to
thank you.
seeing you again.
Yeah, thanks, Geoff. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, so
Wonderful.
for sure, Geoff, you're more than welcome to stay on for a little bit longer. We'll just put you in the back room. We'll wrap this up, and we'll do our draw. Awesome. Thanks again, man.
And well, so then we'll be off the air,
Yeah, after.
and then
you
you'll
bet.
still be here.
We'll try, yeah.
Oh, because then I can tell you some blue stories.
Yeah.
Perfect. We love it.
Let me get a drink. Let me get a drink.
Well, that was awesome. That was really good. Just his brain, the way his brain works and figuring that stuff out. I don't know if it has a lot to do with his psychology degree or stuff like that, but he has definitely some insights that even I haven't heard of before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but constantly super positive guy, and that's so big. I imagine he would be an absolutely phenomenal teammate.
Yeah, I don't know, a 3-hour podcast. I thought we were stretching with 2, but the 3 hours definitely went pretty smooth. And then we could have had then some. I know some people were asking for an intermission, and I follow the people that are watching. We never lost viewers, and that was incredible. It was so kudos to Geoff, and kudos to you guys for kicking in and staying in for those 3 hours, because I didn't think. My bladder wasn't waiting. I don't know about you guys, but
I made it. I might have a secret. I might have a secret, but I made it.
When we started this podcast, it was like an hour, or it was 45 minutes to
45,
an hour.
yeah.
And then we had people telling us that we need to cap it off at 20 minutes to half an hour because that is the optimal podcast length. Well, I think we just gave all those people the middle finger.
We crushed that.
Nah, it was cool. It's great to talk to him, and like I said before, to really get into the mindset of some of these guys. I mean, you've known them for 20 years, but do you really spend the time to dissect what they're thinking on the lanes? No, because you're competing and you're playing against each other, and then you're out at the bar and you're having fun. You're not talking about bowling at that point. You're now having fun. So it's pretty cool, right? To go through some of these.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess, yeah.
So you guys who haven't put hashtag All-Star Draw, it might be your last couple minutes to do it. So get it in the comments if you want to be a part of it. We have 29 entries so far. Tim, who's well, I guess let's not talk about 100. Let's talk about the ones after that, since you already started scheduling those.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we can touch base. So we did mention the hundreds next week. So who knows? Maybe it'd be longer than 2 hours. I guess we can schedule that longer. But we have 6 special guests coming on. We won't tell you who they are, so make sure you guys stay tuned on that. We have prize giveaways. I did confirm that from our video after I said it, so we do have prize giveaways. Make sure you guys do your mean tweets. Obviously, we want to get some really good ones in there, make us laugh. We haven't read them, so take a chance and take a look at that. Now, 101 is going to be Guillaume Charbonneau from Quebec. Really excited to have Guillaume on. He's actually a really good personality. He has he's volunteered a lot out there with associations. He's a pro wrestler. He does I believe he's a sports announcer, or he does sports radio talk as well. So I think that'd be really great to have on. And 102 is Bev Gigliock from Red Deer. So Bev is super excited to have Bev on there. So we got pretty good with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Bev is one of my all-time favorites, being from Central Alberta, and she's going to be great to talk to. For people that didn't know, Greg Gigliock was on as an earlier guest in our podcast. You'll have to go back in the archives. He was amazing, and I can't imagine Bev's going to be any less entertaining than Greg was. So,
Absolutely.
And of course, Bev's maiden name was Bev Meyer, who a lot of the success in bowling had under that name, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, before she got married. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, got a good lineup. It's coming together. It's going to be fun next week. It's going to be fun the next couple of weeks, and we're going to keep the show rolling through the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. All right, let's get this draw going here. So we have 40 entries, and I do believe this thing will randomize it. It's our first time using it, so don't shoot us if it doesn't work properly, but here goes the draw.
Oh,
look at the graphics.
Wow.
it's so fancy.
How many times are we
Oh, it's
randomizing it?
slow- no,
Or
it's
is it
Just
slowing down.
once.
It's slowing
Just
down.
once. Rolling flag. There you go.
All right.
We'll get in contact with you. We'll send you a message on Facebook, since that's where you commented, to get your information that would pass on to All-Star Bowling Sales.
He seems excited.
Dude, Roland. Do we know Roland? Where's Roland from?
He's from Winnipeg.
Okay, good
That's
stuff.
awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's-
Roland's
That's
from
great.
Winnipeg. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool. All right. So great episode, guys. And we'll see you for number 100.
Yes. Share
Yes.
it, like it, do all the fun things.
Do your
Thanks,
mean
everybody.
tweets.
Yeah.
Thanks for